604, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We're starting you off on your Wednesday show at 54 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge, on the way to 70, 79 tomorrow. So gross. We got a busy show for you today. We're kind of all over the place. Cat's going to go on strike. You care? Can the president actually order a halting of all dollars for grants and a bunch of other things that have already been appropriated? And future use of energy in Louisiana, has a pitch competition coming up that we need to talk about too. So a lot of ground to cover. Let's get after it. Top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
Morgan Harris, a Baton Rouge resident, senior loan officer at Guild Mortgage, went to Central High School, then went to LSU, UL Lafayette, and Southern, where she studied, was the winner last night on Wheel of Fortune. Had a Baton Rouge resident, was the winner on Wheel of Fortune last night. I don't have her total. Our news partners over at WBRZ says she won at least $3,600 in her episode.
Number 4.
Amalgamated Transit Union members showed up to the CATS Board of Commissioners meeting last night in protest as they're close to striking if they don't get a raise and a safer work environment. Though the board doesn't directly negotiate the contracts, they do sign off on contracts once they are agreed upon. Union members wanted the board to know just how serious they are about walking out.
Number 3.
Chevron, GE Vernova, and investment firm Engine Number One say they're forming a joint venture to power artificial intelligence data centers with natural gas-fueled electricity. The joint venture of Chevron with turbine maker GE Vernova and Engine Number One aims to deliver 4 gigawatts of electricity, enough to power up to 3.5 million homes for data centers starting by the end of 2027.
Number 2.
3 people were arrested after agents identified a drug trafficking group and conducted surveillance on that group for 2 months, according to the sheriff's office. EBRSO says the drug trafficking group Play for Keeps has been operating out of several residences out of Laurel Street. Deputies identified the leaders of the group as 39-year-old Joshua Morris, 29-year-old Jalen Chavis. They also arrested a 22-year-old Joshua Norman.
Number 1.
An order from the White House to pause federal grants and loans has itself been put on pause after a federal judge temporarily blocked the order. But it should it unpause, Governor Jeff Landry and other Republican lawmakers say the state has, quote, adequate resources for now. They backed Trump's plan to cut government waste.
And
what's trending, John?
Yeah, speaking of that cut and that pushback, a federal judge on Tuesday temporarily blocked a push from President Donald Trump to pause federal funding while his administration conducts an across-the-board ideological review to uproot progressive initiatives.
All right, so this is going to be the new norm. A bold president who asks for more than he's capable of getting. A president who knows how to negotiate.
Right.
Who starts with a bigger ask than he knows he's going to get. The president does not control the purse strings. That's Congress's job.
Exactly.
The president, however, can direct OMB to review whatever the heck they want to. OMB can audit the entire thing from start to finish, and you can see future cuts come from it. Absolutely. The president can, direct OMB, anybody in the White House, well, under the orders of the president, at the pleasure of the president, can put the OMB on anybody's scent, as it were. But shutting down the dollars that have already been appropriated, it's a bit much.
Yeah. In other news, the Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE, found $50 million to cut from the budget, and Twitter has taken notice. The money was to buy condoms for Gaza.
Condoms for Gaza. $50 million. Condoms in Gaza. There's 2 million people in Gaza. That's
man.
How many men, though? How many men?
We'll assume half, I guess.
Yeah.
But you got to give them both, get both genders.
I understand. So from what I'm reading about this, it's everything from money's just being pocketed to they're
by
using
Hamas, right?
Right.
Yeah.
To Hamas is using the money to fill though you're using the condoms, they'll fill them with helium and float balloons that have bombs attached to them. So they turn into like little condom balloons.
That's the worst bomb. I mean, you think about it. You go out to a condom balloon. That's
fully loaded.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, in other news, Madonna is catching backlash on Twitter after posting her disgust with the Trump administration, claiming she is losing freedoms under the new president.
Okay.
Poor Madonna.
I know.
Man.
When's that gal going to catch a break?
I know. I'm just...
Every day
terrible.
She's losing freedoms. I would love for her just to go ahead and alphabetically or chronologically list which freedoms she's lost. Yeah.
She can't express herself?
She can't. She can't. It's...
Wow.
I know. But
I mean, where do you even start, right?
To see 534,000 tweets about that yesterday? Are you kidding me?
Isn't she an
really?
expat now? Doesn't she live? Didn't she? She lives. I mean,
you know what? I don't know.
I think she has a home in Europe, and she was in.
But did she give up her citizenship?
I don't know.
Because if she's not even afforded to the rights that she's not losing.
Hey,
how about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Oof.
611 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got sports coming your way in just a little bit. LSU men's basketball has a huge game tonight. Huge game tonight with Auburn coming into the Maravich Assembly Center. We're going to talk about that and a few other things coming up next. Before we take our break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. ParishBuilt.com is the website. ParishBuilt.com. 364-1007 if you wanted to give them a call. Normally, when I talk about Parish Construction and Roofing, and I'm telling you to do business with someone you know, I'm telling you my story because I'm an unbelievably happy customer. I needed a new roof. Parish walked me through the process from start to finish. It was fantastic. Today, I want to ask, if you're a business owner, what's on top of your business? If you have a warehouse that is in need of a new roof, or I tell you what, think back to last summer about how hot it gets in the warehouse. Parish has a product that can extend the life of your roof and help control the temperature under that roof within your warehouse. Give them a call at 364-1007. I don't know the science behind what it does, how it extends your the life of your roof by, I believe, more than a third. But they can help you out. And, of course, if you need a new roof, they've got you there as well. Do business with someone you know, parishbuilt.com. 16, 17, and 18. 616 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. It is sports time. Tonight in the Maravich Assembly Center, got a big throwdown going. LSU, who has been struggling, and by struggling, I mean they've only got one conference win, welcomes in Auburn tonight. Auburn leads the SEC in daggum near everything. Their field goal percentage is 49%. They're number one in the country. They've got basically the best player out there. Coach Matt McMahon says their ability to shoot makes this Auburn team tough to beat.
They shoot the ball exceptionally well from behind the three-point line with multiple weapons. Then they have arguably the best player in the country to this point in Janai Broome and his efficiency around the goal. And then it seems everyone plays their role. They get to the free throw line. They're on the offensive glass.
Meanwhile, Tigers are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. They're 320th when it comes to three-point shooting at 31%. McMahon says the guys are working on their outside shot.
They've been to work every day. They understand where we have to get better to give ourselves better opportunities to win. But when you're not shooting the ball as well as you would like from three, all I know to do is get in the gym and shoot more and get your confidence and find ways to step up and make big shots in games.
Now, it might not have to come from the outside to make up the difference against Auburn. LSU has consistently, since the beginning of SEC play, has consistently been one player short, one body short, a good 12 to 15 minutes worth of playing time short of their opponents, whether it be falling 73 to 80 at Alabama or, earlier in conference play when they lost 72 to 80 against Vanderbilt, who has proven to be a very good team as well. It's just, it's felt like in a lot of games, one more guy would have made the difference. Could that guy be Trey Green? In his first game since catching 2 touchdown passes in the bowl game over Baylor, Green, the two-sport athlete, in his first game had 2 points, which was a huge dunk after a huge block. Also, he had 3 rebounds, and he played 8 minutes. McMahon says it was a nice debut for the tight end slash basketball player, tight end slash power forward.
He's been a very quick learner. He wants to be really good. He's a great teammate. He brings tremendous energy to practice. I think he saw his ability on the defensive end to guard multiple positions on Saturday night. I mentioned his rebounding. And then offensively, I think he can help us on the offensive glass.
Tip-off is 6 p.m. in the Maravich Assembly Center. Chris Blair, John Brady will be on the call. Pre-game will begin at 5:30. You will hear that right down the hall on Eagle 98.1. Now, fast forward to tomorrow. Coach Kim Mulkey and the LSU Tigers will host Oklahoma Thursday at 6 p.m. And then Sunday at 1, they're going to host Mississippi State. Of course, you hear women's basketball right here on Talk 107.3 FM all season long. One added note for that women's game is that it looks like ESPN is going to be broadcasting live from the fan zone outside the game. ESPN to broadcast live from LSU ahead of both tomorrow's women's basketball game and the gymnastics meet on Friday. I'm seeing this one from WAFB. SportsCenter is going to broadcast live tomorrow. So festivities tomorrow should really ramp up. Action tonight should kick things off for the week into the weekend over at LSU. So a lot of fun to be had on that front. We're coming up on 620 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We need to take a quick break. We're going to check the Fox Business Report. I'll give a look at traffic. When we come back, let's talk about that OMB and the freeze and the judge who's overturned it or put a pause on it. That's all coming up in Legally Served with attorney Franz Borghardt next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM.
Good morning, Facebook.
I was supposed to ask you a question this morning. Supposed to ask you 2 questions this morning.
Sure.
Can Carrie bring Fisher to an exhibit about General Lafayette at the old governor's mansion?
When?
I don't know. Is she babysitting at some point?
That's Thursday,
Yeah.
and sure.
Okay.
Does she need to go that day herself? And
She gets extra credit in French if she goes.
yeah, he'll love that.
And
He likes going to do stuff.
it's not super exciting, but the old governor's mansion museum is pretty cool. So
Sounds great.
okay. Also, you just got back from France.
Correct. I'm
You're
going.
It's been forever since I've traveled internationally. Does your regular cell phone work, or do you need an international plan?
Which plan do you have?
I
Or
have
which
no idea.
company do you use?
AT&T.
So I use Verizon, and I use Verizon's commercial, and so I get a certain amount of international days, and then I pay like $10 to $15 a day.
Okay.
Generally, it's an automatic thing, and you pay if you turn it on or you leave it on. It charges you X amount for 24 hours. I just eat the cost of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to, and I guess I was going to tell you this anyway. I'm going to Italy for 2 legally serves next week, and then the following, and I get like a certain amount of days. But after that certain amount of days, it's like $15 a day. But
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, WhatsApp app is good,
WhatsApp. We're definitely getting that.
and I will say this: everywhere has Wi-Fi. So I mean, and remember, you're 7 hours ahead. So I mean, like on the weekends, I would turn it off because I mean, the work phone was not ringing on the weekends. Going to Italy. I don't know if you've ever used the Duolingo app. Oh, I've been learning some Italian. It's a language app. Oh, arrivederci. I sound like Mario, the plumber. You know, not
As opposed to sounding like Luigi. You know how Luigi sounds. Bang!
cut the mics.
Heading back to the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center, we got some congestion. Not congestion, volume on I-12 westbound coming in from Denham Springs. All the normal spots by Range Avenue and then midway through all the way up to Airline Highway and then again all the way up to the 1012 merge. Might be enough to make you tap your brakes once or twice. That's about it. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks great. 10 eastbound coming across from West Baton Rouge looks great. I-110 looking good as well. So both bridges are wide open too. Surface streets. We've got a this is being reported as an East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office unit crash. Jimmy Waddell Drive at Harry P. Williams Drive. I have no idea where that's at. I'm gonna have to look that one up. But also from about an hour ago, there was a hit and run Pride Port Hudson Road at Wicker Road. So those are the only 2 things on your surface streets to look out for. That's your look at traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. .625 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Okay, I just needed a quick second to look that up. Jimmy Waddell Drive is literally at the airport. So probably not going to be, and it's not even the part of the airport that takes you to where you would, or is it? No, it's not even the part of the airport that takes you to where you'd depart for a plane. So it's at the airport. Not let's not worry about that little. It's where the sheriff's office substation's at. So, all right, it is 6:26 at Talk 107.3 FM. It is time for, in the first time in a long time, we've got attorney Franz Borghardt in for Legally Served. For the first time in 1 month and 11 days.
Has it been 1 month and 11 days?
1 month and 11 days.
Last week was not my fault, guys.
I didn't say any of it was your fault. All I said, wow, it's a guilty conscience for a defense attorney.
I have lots of guilt.
Yeah. 1 month and 11 days. Last week, we were a little bit frozen. I mean, it was just total Anna and Elsa outside. Jack Torrance inside.
Yeah.
Haunted building. The 2 weeks prior to that, you were
On a pilgrimage.
Yeah, on a pilgrimage.
Lisbon, Fatima, Spain, Lourdes, France.
Yeah.
The Pyrenees are lovely this time of year.
And then the week before that was January 1st. The week before that was Christmas Day. And the week before
We
that
didn't have
was,
a legally served on Christmas Day.
No, we didn't.
It's the gift that gifts on given all year round.
No, because we're not going to work on Christmas Day. That's how you get visited by 3 ghosts.
That's true. That's true. So I'm back
Yes.
this week. Gonna miss the next 2 weeks.
Fantastic. I need to recut the open, man. We got to get a backup open for Richard.
Oh, no.
No? All right, fine. We got a lot of ground. First of all, how was the trip?
So I went on a pilgrimage, and I will tell you that a couple things real fast. Portugal, don't sleep on Portugal. Beautiful place, good food. The trip was very, very nice. The weather was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I came back to the Arctic. The highlight of the trip, though, is we went to a place called Lourdes, France. It's a big Catholic hotspot. I got to cleanse myself in the water, not Lake Minnetonka, but like Lourdes.
Yes.
For those who like Prince, like the intro song.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a great trip. I'm glad to be back, man. It's like I'm retired, only not retired. Just
Okay.
tired. We could do an entire episode on international travel, though.
We
Like-
might. We might have to do that one day.
It is really unpleasant.
We got about 2 minutes until break.
Okay.
All right. This is a shorter segment, and,
Okay.
and we but
I'm here all the way. I'm for
I
the
was going to
duration
ask you
today.
that. I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
that.
I'm taking a break from. I told Court TV.
You're not in your Court TV attire.
I
today.
said Court TV. Brian takes precedent.
No, you didn't. You did not tell.
I did
Court
not
TV.
tell
You
Court
did
TV
not
that.
Tell Court TV that. I'm gonna let you pick which topic we start off with for today, and I'll put it on a tee, and then we'll come back after the break and talk
What
about
happens when you accidentally let somebody out of jail
it. Okay.
who's accused of like murder?
Yeah. So this is a real thing. This really happened. We talked about it in Top Stories and Trending the last couple of days, and we're going to dig in on this. A prisoner who was housed in East Carroll Parish, and that's a separate part of the topic, by the way, whose trial is set for, I believe, March, was accidentally dropped off at the Greyhound bus station. I believe it was Friday. He was reapprehended by Sunday, but this opens up so many other questions. Number one, we're going to talk about the need for a jail. I know it's not a criminal defense, it's not legal questions on this one, but you've got some firsthand knowledge of the facilities we're dealing with because you go see clients all the time. But
No, mine are innocent. They're not in jail.
they're not.
Some of them are.
Okay. I was going to say, you've seen them firsthand. But there's also all kinds of other possibilities and hypotheticals to walk down when we're talking about murder suspect Christopher Davis was released in error by the East Carroll Parish deputies.
You can't get mad at him, right?
I don't know.
He doesn't.
We're gonna talk about that part of it too.
Okay.
Right now, though, it's time for news. 6:30. We'll start with ABC, then we'll hit our local news, traffic, weather. Attorney Franz Borghardt is in for Legally Served next.
I mean, if you're in jail for like really, really, really serious charges, and one day you wake up and the folks at East Carroll say, "Hey, pack your stuff up.
You're going home.
You're going home." Are you going to be like,
Are you sure?
"Are you sure?" No. I have pending murder charges, guys. I mean, he doesn't know if he's been bonded. He doesn't know if the charges have been dismissed or no true billed by a grand jury. He doesn't know what's going on. Now, the new crime he allegedly committed, do we know what the new crime is, allegedly? It's the most times I've said allegedly in a while.
Simple escape.
Wait. How are you charging him with simple escape?
Because an escape doesn't get more simple than them just letting you go.
I mean, isn't his defense like, you guys you opened up my cell and like brought me to the bus station? I wasn't supposed to get on the bus? Is that what you're telling me? I wasn't supposed to get on the bus?
Oh, man. Dangling freedom out in front of him, just like that commercial. Almost had it.
He probably felt a lot freer to express himself than, say, Madonna.
If I've got some comparables, some other scenarios we'll walk down here to see about the simple escape charge.
Do you think Bob or Sue, who accidentally let him out, probably going to get fired? You got to fire that person, right? Got to fire that person?
Per WBRZ. This is not the first time an inmate being housed in East Carroll Parish was mistakenly released. In 2022, convicted Ascension Parish killer Michael LeBlanc was also set free after serving time for an unrelated gun charge. He was later arrested again in New Orleans.
So does the conversation then become, "Hey, Sue, we really mean it this time. You really got to, tighten it up a little bit."
The conversation needs to become, why are we trusting East Carroll Parish with our prisoners?
It's interesting you asked that. So there's a money dynamic. You really should, I would highly recommend you get someone from the sheriff's office to come talk about not just the amount of space we don't have, but about the economics of what does the sheriff get paid to house a parish inmate
versus what does it cost?
What does it cost to send them elsewhere?
I've had this conversation with Tony Clayton and talking about juveniles because it's remarkably more expensive for juveniles.
And you've got special different needs for a juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but no, there's a cost factor, but there's also a availability factor too, which we don't have.
Yeah, Tim, about that TPS report, I'm going to need you not to let guys out of the prison. Kind of going to blame the warden on that one too, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Probably the last person to blame is the actual criminal.
I would blame, part of the blame does need to fall on the criminal.
I mean, some of it.
Are you going to charge the deputy who let him out with simple escape as well? Because she's like an accessory to simple escape.
See, I don't. The person who screwed up and put his name on a sheet of paper. Yes. The person who walked down the hall, opened up his cell, and said, "I got your name on this piece of paper right here. You got to go." I don't blame them at all.
You ever seen Idiocracy? I'm getting out today.
Idiocracy was a documentary.
It seems that way.
I've asked myself who's going to be our first WWE president, and then it occurred to me. President Trump was on WWE.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know why that was past me. I was thinking Hulk Hogan because he showed up for the.
No, I think it's going to be The Rock. Rock's going to be the first WWE veteran president. Jesse Ventura had a chance. He was the governor.
Dwayne Johnson would definitely get it.
It's going to be Dwayne Johnson.
He would, yeah.
Our first Samoan. Oh no, not our first Samoan. Doesn't Barack have a little bit of Samoan in him? No, not so much. No. Okay.
What does that just mean? Like he's darker?
I didn't mean it like that. I don't really. He's an American. That's all I know. Point is, point is, it's probably gonna be The Rock.
Totally. I mean, who wouldn't vote for the people's elbow?
It could be
You know what I mean?
it could have been Ric Flair, but he's got some issues.
Right.
Rick's got some issues.
But if not the issue,
I would have
he
voted
would
for Ric
totally
Flair.
vote Ric Flair, yeah. I mean, come on.
Troy writes, new business idea, Airbnb for outsourcing available prison space.
I mean,
Camacho. What does he say? What's his line in the movie? Look, I realize shit's really emotional right now. South Carolina represent. That movie was amazing.
The funniest part about that is when he goes, shit. And it says it on the teleprompter.
Yeah. Electrolytes. What's it?
Like toilet water? What does it have to be out of the toilet? We've got a forecast that'll make you look like last week, like it's the good old days. 70s in January? Here's the McKay Cowan. .638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So what exactly do you do when you're housing a prisoner who's accused of murder, trial coming up a little over a month from now, and the parish where he's being housed mistakenly releases him? We're talking with attorney Franz Borghardt. Franz, this can go in a number of different directions. Let's go ahead and start with, do you hold the prisoner accountable at all?
I'm having a difficulty like wrapping my brain around the criminal intent to try to simple escape when they like bring you to the bus station.
He did have an added charge of simple escape,
right?
Because he simply escaped. It's okay.
Simple escape is like you're in the cop car. They've just arrested you, and Brian's like, I don't want to be in this cop car, and starts trying to break the window with his feet, and then like Joker like is outside of the cop car, like pulling himself out. That's a simple escape. This is, hey, going home.
If the bank makes a mistake, it puts extra money in my account and I spend that money.
Ooh.
Am I responsible for that?
Well, I mean, it's not theft, though. But that's
No,
the thing.
they put it there, but am I responsible
You
for that?
might be responsible for giving the bank back its erroneously given money, but it's not a crime, right?
But
like, he has to go back to tell.
You see the middle ground that I found here.
Yeah, I just, okay, look, bigger picture, guys. This guy's accused of murder. The simple escape charge is like, and by the way, horrible optics. Horrible optics.
Well, okay, let me ask you this as an attorney. If you're this guy's attorney, are you mad at him for not speaking up? Because the level to which you could have used that in court to say, my guy is about as honest as the day is long. He was given the opportunity to walk free when he wanted to stay in trial.
So Timmy is in jail for murder, and they let him out of jail. How does someone get let out of jail for murder? There is the accidental discharge. Mm-hmm. Not going back to the condom story. There's the accidental discharge. There is someone makes bond. The charges are no bail, dismissed, or you're found not guilty. Now, the not guilty, he would have been present for that, right? The trial, he would have been right. But the middle two, the bond or the no true bill, not being prosecuted, The deputies aren't lawyers. They're not telling this dude why he's going home. If they say, pack your stuff up, we're taking you to the bus station.
Be real. Does that ever happen where
I mean,
an attorney isn't the first one on the phone with the guy saying,
no, actually it's not. You're making a lot of assumptions. Did they give him the opportunity to make a phone call to his attorney? Just because they're bringing him to a bus stop doesn't mean, hey, dude, here's my cell phone. You want to make a call? No. We don't know that. Now, here's the bigger question. The person that let him out, intentionally let him out,
yeah,
even though it was an accident, do you charge him with some kind of negligent crime or simple escape? What if it's not the first time?
It's not the first time.
Right.
It's happened 2 years ago with an inmate from Ascension Parish. But did they commit a crime?
I think they committed a crime as much as this dude commits a crime by getting taken to the bus station.
Okay.
So let's play this out. Let's vet this out. Hey, guy, why are you letting me out? Why are you taking me to the bus station? Dude, shut up and get your stuff. We're going to the bus station. Or, hey, why are you taking me to the bus station? Dude, I'm a deputy. I don't know why we're taking you to the bus station.
Right.
And then does the deputy have an obligation if his higher-ups are telling him, hey, take this dude home?
So if Christopher Davis actually says something, does the corrections officer in the East Carroll Parish detention facility, I don't even know the name of the prison in East Carroll Parish. There's nothing in East Carroll Parish. What is there? Poverty points there, I think? What, they got like a population, the entire parish?
I had a death penalty case where my client was housed out there. It was a Baton Rouge case, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drive.
Wait, it's far northeast Louisiana.
Yeah, it is.
Well beyond where Meta is going to build their data center.
It is. There's no Amazon,
There's nothing up there. There's cows. It was one of the last 3 parishes to get COVID because nobody goes there and nobody lives there.
It is pretty isolated. It is pretty isolated. And so, look.
Tensall was the last one, by the way.
Guys, I think pointing the finger at the person you're letting out of jail is not exactly addressing the issue.
No, it's not, but it's still...
I mean, just saying.
The story per WBRZ says it's unclear why East Carroll deputies put Davis in civilian clothes and drove him to Baton Rouge.
Wait, you're giving me civilian clothes? You're giving me hey, I like these pants. Thanks, guys. Simple escape.
I'm having the hardest time not trying to imagine Christopher Davis on that long ass drive. That's not a short drive. It's not a direct drive either.
Do you think he was waiting for them to say, psych your mind? Psych!
On an all-new episode of Prison Punk'd, he thinks he's got a camera on him the whole time. Well, that probably means something different.
So where are his charges?
He thinks he's got a camera on him the whole time.
Where's his charges?
Here.
Right.
In East
so
Baton
if they're
Rouge.
taking him to Baton Rouge.
Uh-huh.
Now, did they put him on a bus there, or did they put him on a bus in Baton Rouge?
They brought him from East Carroll, I assume on a prison bus, all the way down to the Greyhound station over there in Florida.
So he probably was like, hey, guys, y'all mind dropping me off at the Greyhound station?
Yeah.
What's his new crime he committed? Oh, simple escape.
Well, to be fair, an escape does not get more simple than them putting civilian clothes on you,
now,
putting you on a bus and sending you down here.
Now, your question is also, let's say he then later realizes, hey, I still got these murder charges. Does he have an obligation at that point to turn himself back out?
That is where I'm going with that. When I use the bank analogy, that's where I'm going with that.
You got to prove that he at some point learned
that
he still has the charges.
Right. But once he's out, you would think he would.
If somebody says to you, if the lottery company says to you, you got a winning lottery ticket and you're holding the ticket, are you going to check the numbers or are you going to take the money?
You're going to turn the ticket in and find out.
Right.
Which means in his case, call your lawyer and say, am I really good to go here? Is this happening? If something is too good to be true, it's probably not.
So Byron writes, in answer to your question from yesterday that I didn't see until today, the reason Monroe Data Center may be paused is
it's going to be down a rabbit hole, and it's probably inappropriate.
Point is this: the bigger red flag is one. If you're Baton Rouge, if you're the sheriff of Baton Rouge, are you going to rely? Because someone is looking at the sheriff here. It's not Sid's fault, but someone is looking at Sid and saying, "You gonna keep using East Carroll?"
Okay, which is the other part of this conversation, which is what we're going to have to get to, and it's going to spill over into our next segment.
Sure.
Are we going to keep using East Carroll Parish? A spokesperson for the sheriff's office said they're going to have to review this. We in East Baton Rouge Parish, we need a new prison in a bad, bad way. We need to find
Do you think it would help?
anywhere from $100 to $120 million
Do you think it
to
would
build this bad boy.
Do you think it would have helped if we would have bought that city court prison to hold like the misdemeanors and all that? Think that would have helped? That might have helped a little bit.
Maybe.
You know that prison that we collected money from citizens for from the city court? That might have helped. But we do need a new prison.
We do need a new prison.
I'm going to tell you, and I don't think the warden, who's great, and I don't think the sheriff would disagree, our current prison ain't exactly a pleasure palace.
And
pleasure palace.
That is where we're going to pick it up when we get back. We've got about a minute till break. I do need to ask if you've got lunch plans yet. And if you don't, might I suggest P.F. Chang's. Y'all know them. Y'all love them. I love them. Off of Corporate Boulevard in Town Center, a fantastic lunch spot, an even better dinner spot is P.F. Chang's. When you think about Chinese food, don't think about takeout. That's all heavy and greasy and leaves you hating yourself. Maybe I ate too much. I don't know. But when it's P.F. Chang's, you're getting lighter ingredients prepared in a more healthy way. You're getting better ingredients, fresher ingredients. You're getting both traditional Chinese dishes or a number of just Asian-inspired dishes that have a whole lot of pop to them. Ask about the Golden Feast when you go there. Oh, you Korean fried chicken wings. Unbelievable. Or you get the chicken bites with the flight of sauces. It's P.F. Chang's. You're going to find them in Town Center, right off of Corporate Boulevard. Look for the giant golden horse. They're there for lunch. They're there for dinner. It's P.F. Chang's. Quick break. We'll continue next.
Someone on the thread writes, the nearest bus stop to East Carroll is Baton Rouge.
All right, now that we're back on Facebook, what was Byron's comment?
I can't get to the comments. My app is not letting me.
Well, as soon as you said yesterday.
Something about Chinese.
Okay, it's just from a broadcasting standpoint, assuming that the audience was here yesterday to be caught up to speed. Now, the crew that's in Facebook gets it, so I would recommend that.
You're right. Next time I'll read before I reference.
Oh, Galen said, Byron, it was Galen's comment. In answer to your question from yesterday that I didn't see until today, the reason the Monroe Data Center may be paused is that if the Chinese DeepSeek requires 2 to 4 orders of magnitude less resources, current data centers may be able to accommodate our AI hardware needs. Current being the operative word there, Galen. Yeah, that's a completely different topic. Troy says what's missing in this discussion. You read that one, but if he's going to Baton Rouge, he's going to Baton Rouge. I'm sure.
I mean, that's if you're him though, and they're like taking you to Baton Rouge. Now again, if they put him in plain clothes, and then they put him in the bus or the car and took him to Baton Rouge, that might get some questions going. Like at some point, like the deputy may have been like, "Hey, so what are you going to do when you get out?" Like,
right.
Yeah. Like there's a conversation that happens at some point.
Right.
I'm going to Disney World. Richard's yelling.
Richard's yelling loudly.
Take him to the train station. That's Yellowstone. Take him to the train station.
Yeah, I saw that comment. I didn't get the reference. Is that from the TV show?
Yeah. The Duttons would kill people and dispose of their bodies in a hard-to-find canyon in Wyoming, Montana border. And they would use the phrase, "Yeah, we need to take them to the train station."
Now, once his trial is over, like assuming he gets convicted, once his trial is over with, he doesn't go back to East Carroll.
No, he would go to a DOC facility.
Right.
Unless he's still being housed in East Carroll, which I don't know where he's being currently housed. I would hope he's not being housed in East Carroll.
Over at Stankin's place.
Yo, bro, you can crash on my couch. A lot of discussion on this one topic. Huh?
Where were we going with the need for the new prison?
Oh, the nature of East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. It's not just the size of the prison. Like half of it, there's parts shut down. There's issues with housing. There's costs.
.652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Download the free Talk 107.3 mobile app and find out what you missed each day at talk1073.com. And watch us live on Facebook or on the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge YouTube channel. All courtesy of Lake Urgent Care. Lake Urgent Care. Walk-in care for minor illnesses and injuries. We got Legally Served with attorney Franz Borghardt continuing right now as we stay on the same topic, sort of, but kind of pivot a little bit. Franz, we need a new prison. But that brings up so many more questions.
How are we going to pay for it?
Well, yeah, I've got ideas.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen the library's budget's pretty flush. Breck is looking pretty good right now.
So we take a little bit of money from here. We take a little bit of money there.
You know what? Put some books in the prison. Call it a library.
Well, actually, I think it has a library. It has a
law
library.
There you go.
It has a law library.
There you go.
So it's like Shawshank, kind of.
Yeah. Why not? Maybe throw up a basketball goal. Call it a Breck Park.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some of the
I'm just saying we need to learn how to borrow.
No disrespect to Breck. Some of the Breck parks feel like prisons.
Oh no! See, I'll disagree with that all day.
Yards.
It's some of the Breck parks are some of the best facilities around.
Oh, I love Breck.
We are a gold medal facility. Gold medal.
Maybe we take a little bit of that money. Take a little bit of that money.
And look, I use Breck in the library because they're out there as easy pickings.
We do need a new prison.
Yeah.
As someone who has some client's house there, it's not good. And look, at the end of the day, no matter how you feel about crime, it's important to understand most of the folks in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison have not yet been convicted. They're awaiting trial.
Correct.
So it's for their safety, it's for their protection, it's for people's protection, the public's protection, but also like I'm thinking about the cost of housing an inmate here versus the cost of shipping an inmate somewhere else and paying East Carroll to house them.
Yes.
So, oh man, what would have happened if that dude would have gotten out and killed somebody?
That's the other part of the conversation. What does happen there?
Negligent homicide.
Okay, but what kind of charges for you mean negligent homicide for East Carroll?
How many times have I sat in this chair and told you the world we're moving towards now is we're prosecuting more negligent-based crimes. If he gets out and kills somebody because he was wrongfully let out, you're going to charge that. You're going to charge him with murder.
Yeah.
But you really need to think about charging the folks that let him out accidentally.
Right.
I mean, letting out an inmate when they shouldn't have been let out is kind of like the textbook definition of gross negligence.
Yes.
Not just an accident, gross negligence.
Well, and is that part of farming this out to somebody else? Because if he is an alleged killer from Baton Rouge and he's housed in Baton Rouge and he's being he's being looked after by Baton Rougeans.
So the other side of the coin is sometimes you do have to ship people out for their own safety. I represented a young man who was accused of killing a cop.
That's a completely different story.
You can't leave him in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison.
Understood.
Right.
But
That's
what
not. That's a no-brainer, right?
Right. But what I'm saying is, if people like Mr. Davis were housed until trial within the parish, you've got more buy-in there because it's our crime in our backyard. If it's East Carroll, it's a contract.
Where would you put the new prison? Are you going to put it near the airport?
No.
So where are you going to put it? Gardier?
No. Obviously not. That's a hard part.
Not next to LaBerge?
Maybe further north than the airport.
Near the border, right?
We've got, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter where you put it. You're going to catch blowback because
I don't want a new prison near my house.
Well, I will.
This is now, funny thing, in Iberville Parish, in Plaquemine, you're driving to the prison.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of cross and pass the golf course and nicer, country club, living, and then there's a prison.
Okay.
They don't seem to mind. Just saying.
Well, it would likely have to be, and
it's a good question. That's part of the conversation, right?
You can't put it in Zachary. I mean, that's
you could put it in Zachary.
Well,
but I'm sure Zachary would have a say about that.
But if you went east of Zachary, where there's nothing,
put it in St. George.
If you went east of Zachary, where there's nothing,
dude. If they put a new prison in St. George, people would lose their minds.
Oh no, totally.
Yeah.
And I would only point to a great bit by George Carlin about why you want a prison in your backyard.
It's probably the safest backyard ever.
All the people are behind the wall.
Yeah.
And if they do get out, what are they going to do? Hang around?
Yeah, they're not.
Check real estate? No, they're gone. You put a prison in your backyard, anybody who gets out is just moving along.
Right.
We've got enough area of the parish that has absolutely nothing in it.
This is a part of human existence in a community is you have to have a prison.
Yeah.
And
yes, you do.
The trade-off is you can't ship your clients or your inmates or defendants, whatever you want to call them, to you can't ship them in Julia says the prison's in St. Gabriel, not Plaquemine. That may in fact be true, but there's also a prison in Plaquemine. I've been to it.
She's talking, I think Elaine Hunt's in St. Gabriel. Is that right?
Yeah.
Different prison.
That's a DOC facility.
Yeah.
Which is totally different than a parish prison.
Yeah.
Do you know how many active cases we have here too? Think about the numbers. Big numbers.
We had Hiller Moore on. We have Hiller Moore on once a month, and the last time he was on, we were talking about that. How backlogged the 19th JDC is.
Byron writes, make it part of the zoo. They can't keep giraffes alive. Come on, man.
Dude.
I love the zoo. I support the zoo. Mm-hmm. Not putting this next to the zoo is not going to help the zoo. It's not going to help the inmates.
No.
I apologize to the Baton Rouge Zoo and the folks at Baton Rouge Zoo.
I appreciate you apologizing for that. You're not going to find a place where you're going to put a new prison that's going to be welcomed.
Right.
I mean,
does Baton Rouge have patches? So, all joking aside, and look, there's a lot of joking that happens in our segment. All joking aside, East Carroll is a wonderful place to put a prison because ain't nothing there.
Right.
Right.
When you have an entire parish whose population is 7,500 for the whole parish,
right,
you've got room to throw up some walls and put some accused bad people
we have
behind
this government building. We have this government building downtown that's mostly empty. City Hall, mostly empty.
Oh, no, you're not putting the prison downtown.
You know that facility has cells in it from when it was a courthouse.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, for that matter, you also have the old woman's hospital, the police headquarters that has...
They can't share space?
It's across the street from you, boss.
Safest place to have a prison.
He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We do legally serve this time every week. Always appreciate you, brother.
Hey.
Here comes news. I was just praying that my Breck sponsorship banner didn't come up while you're shitting on the zoo.
And Breck. Perhaps we rebuild the prison in place. We do that with high schools. Okay, Galen.
No. Galen, I'm going to disagree with you here because if you want economic development of any sort in Baton Rouge, getting off of an airplane and looking at the prison is probably a dumb idea. I don't know where, but we got to find someplace else.
I'm going to make a statement for the record. I've served on the Breck Finance Committee. I love Breck. I have
You're
served.
explaining you're losing.
I know. I've done work with the Baton Rouge Zoo. I love the zoo and the animals they have alive.
Yeah.
And it actually is a Breck facility.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo.
Yeah.
Which,
You didn't say
Which
anything.
is-
I said it. It's my fault. I'm sorry, Brian.
I understand. Hey, but okay, so look who just tuned in to watch.
I can't see.
First District Councilman Brandon Knoll, who has the real estate. But if you're Brandon, you don't want that.
No, nobody
Because
wants a
you're-
prison.
You're representing Zachary, and what does Zachary do? Half of Zachary lives there, so they can be away from all his garbage.
As a former ABC board member, if people don't want new bars around their house,
Yeah.
they don't want a new prison around their house either. I'll see you guys next week. No, I won't
The
see you next week.
phrasing, if they don't want new bars around their house,
Bars
they don't
are
want
bars.
no bars around their house.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
That's good. That was huge. Like the. Never mind. Respect them.
Oh, Brandon says by Jetson. That's right.
Always a good time. Always a good
Jetson would be a good spot. What'd you say, Rich?
Doing good today, dude. What's happening?
Every Wednesday, I do a bit at Rotary Club. It's the noon news.
I like your kickers too.
Yeah, I don't have shoes that match this suit. The sport coat is in the car. So
I'm gonna raise some money. We're gonna get you some.
I appreciate that. Honestly, these are so comfortable. I don't want them. What's new in your world? We saw a story the other day. We were going over it again with Franz. East Carroll Parish. They let the accused murderer go at Greyhound bus station. So we were walking down the path of where would you put a new prison in Baton Rouge? We need a new parish prison. We need one. So where would you put it?
Hey, look, that's a good story. Listen to this. Babe, you DJ, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? See, now with the Ascension Parish School Board voting 10-zip, where these teachers don't have to call these kids by these wacko pronouns.
Yeah.
If they ask you to DJ at one of the Ascension school dances,
Yeah.
guess what song you can't play anymore? It's a freak show, baby, on the dance floor. It's a freak. How you like that?
I love that. That I'm trying to remember who sang that.
Mark Clay.
That's right. Oh, that's Ascension's the second parish actually voted in.
Oh, yeah?
I think it was St. Landry earlier in the week.
Daddy, but I like my penis. Jeez. I don't care, boy. You're getting rid of it. Parents are nuts, okay? It's crazy, parents.
Oh,
That's all it is.
the parents are narcissistic.
Oh, absolutely.
There's nothing special about their child, so they gotta find something special.
His mom has got more metal in a place than a salvage yard. She got 3-color hair. She's chasing hummingbirds in the yard. Come on, babe.
Jason? Shit, get off the couch, boss.
You walking in a school board meeting like this. Y'all don't understand.
Oh.
If you don't mind, I'm trying to focus in on what I got to do. Y'all
You too, Rich. 7:05, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing, and we are we're still sitting on 50. Oh, no, we dipped down to 52 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. We got a busy hour coming your way this hour. In fact, tell you what, we need to hit top stories and trending. When you hit number 5, I need you to run downstairs to let my next guest in, all right? All right, cool. It's time for top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Amalgamated Transit Union members showed up to the CATS Board of Commissioners meeting last night in protest as they are close to striking if they don't get a raise and a safer work environment. Now, the board does not directly negotiate the contracts. However, they do sign off on contracts once they are agreed upon. Union members wanted the board to know just how serious they were about walking out, and they are serious about walking out. So you had a number of protesters showed up in bandages. Some showed up in bandages to show that they are, quote unquote, hurt by their work environments. Others just letting them know that things aren't good right now and they need to get better. Sent John downstairs to let my next guests in. So I'm going to go ahead and say number 4. Chevron, GE Vernova, and an investment firm called Engine Number 1 say they are forming a joint venture to power artificial intelligence data centers with natural gas-fueled electricity. The joint venture aims to deliver 4 gigawatts of electricity, enough to power up to 3.5 million homes, for data centers starting by the end of 2027. Moving on to story number 3. Starting today, Louisiana will begin accepting state tax return filings. Of course, you can file your state income taxes electronically through the Louisiana Department of Revenue's website, the state taxpayer access point. However, returns can also be filed by mail, but today is the day that they're opening it up.
Number 2.
3 people were arrested after agents identified a drug trafficking group and conducted surveillance on that group for 2 months, according to the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. EBRSO says the drug trafficking group Play for Keeps has been operating out of several residences out of Laurel Street. Deputies identified the leaders of the group as 39-year-old Joshua Morris and 29-year-old Jalen Chavis. They also arrested 22-year-old Joshua Normand.
Number 1.
An order from the White House to pause federal grants and loans has itself been put on pause after a federal judge temporarily blocked that order. But should it unpause, Governor Jeff Landry and other Republican lawmakers say the state has, quote, adequate resources for now, and they're backing Trump's plan to cut government waste. All right, John, what's trending?
Well, a federal judge on Tuesday temporarily blocked a push from President Donald Trump to pause federal funding while his administration conducts an across-the-board ideological review to uproot progressive initiatives.
All right, so we've got to reacclimate ourselves to having a president who does bold things like this.
Right.
He's going to ask for more than he can get. It's part of negotiating. He is a businessman. We are used to politicians who meticulously calculate what they get and then ask for a little bit less just to make sure that they can tell their constituents they got something.
Of course.
With Donald Trump, you're going to get a bigger ask than a receive, and it's all done out in the public because it is public. He is the president. So, no, you don't control the purse strings. Yes, you can have the OMB audit or review anything you want, but this is a little bit of a differentiating factor right there. No, I'm pretty sure this is going to be upheld. Now, you keep that review going either way.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you could
absolutely.
shut down future spending. You could shut down future entire departments maybe, but as far as what's already been promised, what's already been appropriated, it's already been appropriated.
Absolutely. In other news, the Department of Government Efficiency found $50 million to cut from the budget, and Twitter has taken notice. The money was to buy condoms for Gaza.
Condoms for Gaza.
Fascinating here.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of, $50 million for a place that has 2 million people.
Oof.
I mean,
and what's the comment you made last hour about the bombs? I mean,
so
come on.
they're filling them with helium and then attaching bombs to them and then like floating them over to where their enemies are. And That's one of the stories being reported. Another story being reported is this just embezzlement.
Oof.
You would hate to think that a place that would need $50 million worth of condoms would have that much turmoil.
Oof. Yep, I let that one sit for a little bit. Let it resonate. But yeah, of course they're worried that the money is going to end up in the pockets of Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I would think getting. I'm not gonna dive too deep into that. Hey, Madonna is catching backlash on Twitter after posting her disgust with the Trump administration, claiming she is losing freedoms under the new president. She's losing freedoms, Brian.
List them for me. Go ahead.
Go
ahead. List the freedoms that Madonna is losing.
I've got none.
Okay.
She goes on to quote, "It's so sad to watch our new government slowly dismantling all the freedoms we have been fighting for and won over the years."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
by
is
the
it
way,
you, Madonna, or is it just your, you know what I mean?
It's the scare tactics. There's a lot of people who are afraid right now. And now that we're in the Trump presidency, that fear is getting ramped up. Look, I'm not going to be on board with 100% of what this president does either. Like, nobody is.
Nobody.
That's part of
right.
it. That's part of it. But a lot of it is you can expect bold change. It's going to be different, if nothing else. So, and in answer to your question from last hour, yes, she is still an American citizen. So all of her promises to leave the country, she kept her citizenship. So.
Yeah, and this is coming from the same woman who threatened to, quote, blow up the White House in 2017 after Trump won.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oof. She's still here.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there's an entire world out there.
Right.
I mean,
still here.
Yeah. 712 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, let's talk fuel. Future use of energy in Louisiana. They got a big super pitch event. We'll talk about it next. I'm glad I didn't do my live read there.
What was your live read?
As for Mathern's, but it was back-to-back me. Come on in. Hey, how's it going? Likewise. Been a minute. All right. Oh, look at this.
And that lights up too, of course.
Oh, okay. I'm guessing this is leftover from last week.
No, that's for super pitch.
Okay.
Which
do I have?
you may have all of
I
that.
had the press release,
Okay,
so.
yeah. The
This is,
bottom lights up
Yep.
too.
I have a Mardi Gras ball to attend in a couple, not this weekend, but
Oh, yeah?
next. So that will get used for sure. How you been?
I'm good. How about you?
All right.
I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's
Good, busy?
yes, just tiring, busy. You know.
How much time do we have? 1 second? Or?
1 second.
Okay.
Till 7:30.
Okay.
It'll be more than enough. Hey, as soon as we get back in, can you go let in Laurie? She's here for the next segment. Yeah, no problem. And the last one, sorry, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, I think I have mine.
714 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hey, don't forget, every Monday, Talk 107.3 presents a weekly conversation with St. George Mayor Dustin Yates. Shouldn't say every Monday. Sometimes we have to skip when business at St. George takes over. But Mondays at 5, it's called Mondays with the Mayor. You can watch the show each week on the St. George Facebook page. It's Mondays with the Mayor. St. George Mayor Dustin Yates and myself, Monday afternoons, 5 p.m., right here on Talk 107.3 FM. All right, time to pivot, time to switch gears, time to talk about the future use of energy in Louisiana. They've got a big event tied into this. Can you go? Yeah, okay. A big event tied in to the Super Bowl. Want to welcome in Mike Mazzo'a and Stephen Loy. Fellas, how y'all doing?
Great. Good morning. How are you?
Doing all right.
Good morning, Brian.
Glad to have y'all back in this morning talking about this. Before we get into Super Pitch, let's talk a little bit about Fuel, how it got rolling, where it's at right now, how it got started and where it is, that the whole backstory.
Well, the backstory is that energy is one of the most important industries in Louisiana. And I think everybody agrees we need more energy.
Yes.
And so Fuel is about future-proofing energy in Louisiana for the nation and the world. And it's a program sponsored by the National Science Foundation. Louisiana was awarded one of 10 of these monstrous innovation engines back in March of 2024. And it really proved that Cajuns know how to do research and to innovate. And so that's where we're at right now.
Very cool stuff. And we've seen so many examples in the news recently of the absolute demand here, the absolute need here with Meta coming to Louisiana. The need for energy is there. Then St. Francisville, they picked West Feliciana because of the power plant, because of River Bend. In fact, there was a story in Top Stories and Trending about a whole team coming together. You know what? I threw away the paper. I had the paper, and then I threw it away. We had a story in Top Stories and Trending about Chevron and a number of others. I got it right here. Chevron, GE Vernova, and an investment firm called Engine Number One forming a joint venture to power artificial intelligence data centers with natural gas-fueled electricity. So as we have need for data, as we have need for everything that we use in our lives, our need for energy continues to grow. That's how Fuel got started. How is it going right now?
Well, Stephen?
Yeah. So right now we are, as a lot of people know, that Super Bowl is coming back to New Orleans this coming Sunday. Next coming Sunday,
Right.
the 9th. And so we are pulling together a pitch competition the Wednesday, February 5th in New Orleans. So we have 4 companies pitching. The total purse is $175,000.
Wow.
Yeah, first place gets $100,000. Second place gets $50,000. Third place gets $25,000. And those companies that are pitching are energy related. They fit within Fuel's mission there. And so it's going to be a great time for people to come together and learn about what's happening in Louisiana, because Fuel is a statewide organization about entrepreneurship and energy.
You've got 4 companies pitching and 3 prizes?
Well, we are going to have a 4th prize.
Okay. I was going to say, somebody's going to lose here.
Actually, the 4th prize is we're going to validate their parking.
There you go. Hey, for Super Bowl week, that's a pretty stiff prize right there.
Right, that's right.
So $100,000 is the top prize on the line here, and you just can't get away from pitch competition, can you?
It's in my blood.
Yeah, absolutely. What kind of ideas are we looking for here? What kind of ideas? Just a rough draft of what's being pitched.
Yeah. A lot of it is using carbon as a product, as a feedstock. And so that's really what a lot of these companies are doing. Encore CO2, for example, is taking there you go. Thank you. Is taking CO2 and making additional products. They can actually looking to make seltzer out of CO2. So it's taking CO2 and using it in a different way.
John, you heard that? You heard that?
Did.
Every
did hear
time,
that.
every time a carbon capture project comes up, and I mention my Soda Stream, everybody laughs at me.
Right.
Everybody, that's not what it's for. And here we go.
There you go.
Here we go.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And you know what?
edge.
We're dead serious about this.
That's how much carbon can that? Well, I guess we can get into the technicals of it when we have our winners and maybe get them on as a follow up later on. But no, that is exactly one usage of it. What other than Topo Chicos? What else is out there for carbon usage?
There are several others out there. There's a couple of them are having to do with carbon capturing and auditing and creating accounting for that.
Okay.
Because if there's going to be a secondary market to use the carbon credits, you need to know exactly what you're doing with that. So we're seeing a lot of that is not only on the software side, but also on the hardware side.
Aside from carbon, there's a number of other possibilities out there when it comes to future energy. What are we looking at?
Well, we have 6 broad technical areas, and that includes water use. So, you mentioned the Meta data centers. People don't fully appreciate how much water those data centers use, and so we're very interested in being forward, looking at ideas on how not to deplete aquifers,
Right.
and how to use the abundant water resources that we have.
I would imagine this is one where we're going to have ideas that look something different in a previous generation, in a previous field, and it's just being readapted to our new uses of energy.
Absolutely, and you know, we're interested in our companies being successful, so they need to have access to big markets, and our plants all up and down the Mississippi River represent many different products that are produced, chemicals, fuels, and there's, you know, us three sitting here can't even imagine all the things that they use in those big plants.
Right.
But the idea is to not let the carbon go, but to use it in a profitable way.
We've got Mike Mazzo'a and Stephen Loyan with us from Fuel, Future Use of Energy in Louisiana. They've got their Super Pitch event coming up on February 5th down in New Orleans, $100,000, the biggest, that's the grand prize. You've also got a $50,000 second prize and a $25,000 third place prize. Mike, you mentioned there's 6 different areas here: carbon capture, use and storage, energy efficiency, and CO2 as feedstock, which Stephen talked about a little bit. Am I seeing H2 as an alternative fuel?
Yes, hydrogen, absolutely.
What are our possibilities there?
Well, we have a company, for example, that is taking water out of the air and using renewable energy, solar, in order to put it into what's called an electrolyzer and create hydrogen. The Department of Defense is very, very interested in this because this is the sort of thing that could sit out at a forward operating base, for example, and generate electricity for our troops. Wow,
That's very cool as well. We talked about water management. What goes into structural integrity and sustainable manufacturing practices?
You know, that is a concern about all of the energy infrastructure, which includes, for example, pipelines. And so what we're learning is that the entire industry is concerned about various types of corrosion, for example.
Yeah.
And in addition, there are brand new forms of what I'll call concrete. In the business, we call it geopolymers, that can absorb vast amounts of carbon dioxide. In fact, it makes the concrete stronger and better. So those are 2 examples of infrastructure technologies that we have some amazing work going on at, for example, Louisiana Tech up in Ruston.
Okay, and this is a big one because every time we hear about a carbon capture project, we hear from those who are, locals to where the project is going to be, and there are always some concerns from residents around there. This addresses their concerns directly.
Absolutely. I mean, frankly, wouldn't you want to take an abundant potential waste product and turn it into something that's value added rather than just stick it in the ground?
No, 100%. 100%. If we could use it, let's use it. That's a big part of every time we talk about carbon capture and sequestration, that usage part just kind of gets skipped right over, right down the middle. Also, economic and policy research. How does that get turned into a pitch?
So we don't have any companies that are pitching that meet one of those, but we do have proof of concept funds that in other use-inspired research where things like that could be.
And in particular, we have a great capability here at LSU called the Center for Energy, and that center is doing economic analysis of all these companies that fuel is going to fund and grow up and create thousands of jobs and billions of dollars of economic activity.
We've got Mike Mazzo'a and Stephen Loyan with us talking about Fuel's Super Pitch event coming up next week. It's coming up on February 5th down in New Orleans. All right, let's talk about what goes into the pitch and what kind of criteria we're looking at to judge them on.
So there are several criteria. So these companies are all about making sure that they can move on to get additional funding.
Mm-hmm.
When a company, early stage company, is looking for funding, their first source of revenue or money is friends, families, and fools. And then after that, there's something called the Valley of Death. That's where they've run out of funding. Aunts and uncles won't talk to you anymore because you keep asking them for money, but you still don't have enough to get that proof of concept to be able to get professional funding. So what Fuel is doing is having not only the super pitch, but something called proof of concept fund, where we'll award up to $200,000 to these companies to get them past the valley of death, kind of super boost them to get to that proof of concept phase. And that's what. So we've actually funded 5 companies with our proof of concept fund, with over $850,000 investing into these companies. It's a grant, it's non-dilutive, but we call it an investment because it really is an investment. We want them to think of it as an investment.
So just what goes into that is basically sustainability and scalability?
Sustainability. Make sure you know who your market is.
Right.
Make sure that it's achievable, that you can scale it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you can do it once doesn't mean you can do it 100 times. And scalability is really where a lot of companies, especially entrepreneurs, get stuck. They're like, yeah, I can do this in the lab. I can do this in my garage. But can you really scale it to make money? And make sure that you can do that 10X that investors are looking for.
Yeah, the scalability part of this is what the scalability part of this is where it's going to make a difference in all of our lives.
Yes,
that's where you actually see something that can change the future.
Yes, yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I jumped in there. What else goes into the pitch?
Yeah, so
the criteria,
and also too is the investors are looking at who the entrepreneur is. There's a saying out there, it's the jockey, not the horse.
Mm-hmm. Because
if you have a great idea, but the entrepreneur doesn't have the skill set to sell it, to go out and get money for it, then it's not going to progress. So a lot of it is all about who that person is.
So the pitch itself, the actual verbiage and delivery is going to be an important part of it.
It's really important. And, it's some people think that that's kind of fake, but it's not. It's really important to be able to present your idea in a clear, concise way that others can understand. A lot of this has a lot of science behind it.
Yeah.
You've got to break through the science and tell the audience what you're actually providing.
Okay, so parameters when they're getting out there, what are they given in order to pitch y'all? Because there's, like you said, there's a lot of science here.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of, part of the expression, there's going to be a lot of dumbing down to the panel.
Right. So it's a 10-minute pitch.
Okay.
With 10-minute Q&A from people from Black Bay Partners, Louisiana Economic Development, and Shell.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had judges, we wanted judges who were actually knew the industry and knew whether or not who was most fundable. And that's who the audience is. Who the judges are.
You mentioned that Valley of Death phase right there. How important is it that you have companies, and it's part of the parameters, how important is it that you have companies that are still below that phase right now, and you're not just having those who are already sustainable on their own pitching to you?
That's a great point, because we're here to build the ecosystem. We're starting from early stage companies all the way up to more latter stage companies. So we need companies on that whole spectrum, because we won't get these latter stage companies if we don't start off with these younger companies with an idea. But the great part that we're seeing the most help that we can be as fuel is that Valley of Death Fund. Try to get these companies the resources they need, not just money. We're partnering with the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the state to make sure they're receiving the coaching, the capital, and the connections.
And then, so we get Stephen Lloyd and Mike Mazzo'a in with us. Mike, we had about a minute and a half left. That part brings it back around to you. I would imagine a big part of your role is the nurturing after the contest.
Absolutely. Our what we bring to it is not running the businesses for them. What we want to do is create an environment where our Louisiana companies have a better chance of success, and we lose fewer of them into unnecessary failures. I was a tech startup founder myself, and I know what those struggles are. And so anything that we can do, from making those connections to helping companies get their next round of investment, introducing them to big customers that actually bring the scale in terms of market, all of those things help companies have a better chance of being successful.
The pitch competition coming up on February 5th, 5:30 p.m. in New Orleans. Super pitch event. A lot of money on the line and a lot of the discernible future on the line as well. I assume the winner will be announced same night?
It will be, and more information is at fuellouisiana1l.org. And Super Pitch, it's a free event, and love to see everyone be there. Greatly appreciate both of y'all coming in today. Looking forward to this. Thanks
for having us, Brian.
The future is bright when you put the great minds to work like that.
And Brian, if you come, we might even validate your parking too.
Put me right in that winner column as well. Fellas, thank y'all so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. We're coming up on 7:30 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Before we get you to our news at the bottom of the hour, got to remind you that Talk 107.3 is now on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel at Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge right now. All subscribers are going to be eligible to win tickets to see A Night of Comedy with Jim Gaffigan and Sebastian Maniscalco Thursday, February 20th at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. Watch and subscribe today at the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge YouTube channel. We got news coming up. Then we'll check traffic, then weather. Then Metro Councilwoman Laurie White Adams joins us next.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you all. Unbelievable.
So using carbon for seltzers.
Yeah.
I've been joking about it. Like, it's one of those things where I'm not smart, but that's so simple. I don't know why.
So, it gets into the whole thing. Prior administrations have demonized CO2, but the fact is we use it all every day in products that we love, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, that's just a relatively small niche. There's many, many other much larger volume products that can be made.
Yeah.
Like ethanol. We all like that, too.
From carbon?
Yeah, I mean, ethanol is a hydrocarbon, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what Encore CO2, and we're not talking about necessarily putting it into alcoholic beverages. Ethanol is a intermediate ingredient for many things like plastics and other products. So it's a big business coming.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. All right.
Thanks for your
Michelle.
time, sir.
Thanks for the Thanks for the swag there. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Somewhat. I've got.
Everybody else has the flu.
I don't have the flu. I've got something bronchial. Like, and I don't think I'm contagious or anything.
Yeah.
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 But I mean, it started with we were all frozen before we left, and then we get there and it's frozen and dry.
Yes.
And then
I know.
you would
Some
think
of
I'd.
my teammates, my workmates have flu A, came back with flu A, so I know. Yeah. But yeah, it's hard, right? Like,
So yeah, I saw. So you briefly, I saw Jen briefly, and Brandon. Who else was there? Was that it?
Cleve Dunn and Anthony Kinney were there,
I
but
don't
they got
know
in
them.
late. Ah.
Okay.
Okay, we need.
Well,
Yeah.
But I was I had
Yeah.
wanted to put my equipment in. I was doing my show from Senator Cassidy's suite on Saturday,
Yeah.
and before they had the suite up and running, I'd put my equipment in there to store it for the next day,
Right.
and they never texted me back to say it was okay. So I kind of was looking for forgiveness instead of permission. And by the time I got there, she wouldn't let me in to go check on it to make sure it was all tucked away and nobody could see it and all this stuff. And I think it was Molly was like, "We're not open yet." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't like do a whole like I need to get in there sort of thing." But like, I'm doing my show from there tomorrow. She was completely apologetic, but like, when I saw y'all, it was at the time that I was like being told no.
Yes, right. You're like, I need my stuff.
I know. Can't have that stuff walk away.
That's expensive stuff. Absolutely. No, totally understand. We need to introduce you to Anthony. You're gonna.
Oh.
He's a great
Yes.
young man. Just turned 28 yesterday.
Yeah.
So excited to have.
And
Young
are the
person.
mics off? Getting warmer today, getting warmer tomorrow. Here's your full forecast from Emma Kate Cowan. .738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. With the new year came the expiration of the contract between, for CATS and for their drivers. And now it's being talked about the Amalgamated Transit Union members, those are your CATS bus drivers, your bus operators, may go on strike soon. I wanted to learn a little bit more about this, so I reached out to Councilwoman Laurie White Adams to find out just how deep inside the whole story we can get. There was a board meeting last night. There were protesters at the board meeting. So, Laurie, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great, Brian. Thanks so much for having me. And I was so pleased when you reached out about this issue because I'll tell you, do you remember a couple of years ago when we had the CATS Investigative Committee and we were looking at the board members and the makeup of CATS, the Metro Council last term?
I remember. I remember the
right.
The drug accusations and then the media getting in trouble for reporting the drug accusation. Like, all of it was just such a mess.
There was a lot going on. And so interestingly enough, most people in the parish do not realize that CATS is not a political subdivision of the parish. It is a state-created entity, and the Metro Council's only involvement is appointing board members. That's the only thing we have the ability to do to make a difference.
Okay.
But we've put in some work. I've put in some work. Some other council people put in some work. And so I wanted to let you know and let the public know we have recruited some great board members.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll remember, we used to read about problems with CATS audits. Those have been corrected.
Yes.
There was a story about the IRS coming in. There were taxes that haven't been paid. That has all been taken care of, and we had a $500,000 fine that had been levied, and we have negotiated our way out of that fine. So I just want to give a big round of applause and credit to the CATS board members who answered the call to serve, and they've done some great work.
Yeah, they were stepping in some quicksand, to be sure.
It was very hard to recruit. People were like, you want me to serve on what?
Yeah, and public transit in Baton Rouge has never been the most popular thing amongst those who don't use it. And there's such a divide in this town between, because no matter how they do it, it's not going to be convenient for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, and so we were able to find some people who'd owned businesses, who had certain skills and talents that were exactly what the CATS organization needed for the moment. So a lot of things at CATS are going better than they have been in a long time.
Okay.
And so this bump in the road with the union right now, I just want people to know this is not related to previous things that have taken place.
Right.
I think this is an economic circumstance.
Okay.
I don't know what life is like for you when you go to the grocery store, Brian, but everybody else I talk to finds that prices are way higher.
Sure.
And so the buying power of a dollar is eroding, right? So that affects, I think, the bus drivers, and I think they are. And again, the Metro Council is not at the table for these negotiations, right? It's CATS management and the union. The CATS board isn't at the table. But I suspect that most people are really struggling to be able to afford the things that they have previously been able to afford, and so I imagine the union is going to the table to try and get more money for their bus drivers.
Okay. That being said, though, the way they are funded comes from the rest of us who are still struggling as well.
Absolutely, and that's the balancing act. Absolutely. So, if you go online and you look at the CATS financials, you'll see that CATS has been operating at a deficit, not a massive deficit, but they've been operating at a deficit. So pre-COVID, CATS ridership was 200,000 riders a month.
That's down by almost half.
It's now rebounded to 120,000.
Right.
But I think we have to get realistic and realize it's not popping back up to that 200,000 number, right? Also, the buying power of a dollar has decreased. So the tax revenue that CATS is getting, it's not going as far. And so I think the rub that we're seeing right now is what we're going to continue to see for in the years ahead, and that's the revenue doesn't change. The expenses are increased, and in the individuals, whether that be the bus driver, a mechanic working for CATS, or whether it be a taxpayer in Baton Rouge or East Baton Rouge Parish, we're all experiencing the same squeeze. And I think this is just the beginning of a lot of really tough conversations and unrest.
Yeah, and the tough conversation is that because CATS gets its revenue basically from two sources, right? Millages and fares. Is that?
Yeah, there's some federal grant dollars. There's
Sure.
some here and there, but overwhelmingly,
But not
sure.
enough to make
That's right.
a discernible difference.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to the two, if you're losing, if you've lost over the last 5 years more than half, and now it's balancing back to be a little under half of the fares,
Right.
then it turns to the millages, and a lot of the millages. I mean, we're tapped out to begin with.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things you'll see tonight in the Metro Council agenda is a roll forward proposal on some millages. And again, certainly understand that our firefighting entities, they're under pressure, right?
Yep.
They, I'm sure the guys need and the ladies need more money. I'm sure the expenses for equipment cost more. But your family budgets are not increasing, and there's increased pressure to purchase those everyday, market basket of goods. Families can't make ends meet, just like I think some of these other entities can't make ends meet, and we just can't keep going back to the public like they're a credit card. People work very hard for their money.
Yeah, and we're seeing this on a number of different fronts. And Councilwoman Laurie White Adams is our guest. I don't want to get too far away from CATS, but we had Franz Borghardt in last hour, and we were talking about our need for a new jail. And
It's significant.
The number of times we have gone to the polls to vote for things that we want, and now we need to go to the polls to vote for things that we need. We heard from Hiller Moore is going to be looking for more money
Absolutely.
as well. It's unbelievibly vital for his 19th JDC to get funded.
Absolutely.
It's like the number of things we need. We have all the things that we want already, and now we're.
That's right.
I'm
Remember
tapped out.
reading about the juvenile detention facility and all the
100%,
things
yes.
that have happened there. Brian, you're so right. The needs. And I had a gentleman talk to me last night about funds for drainage maintenance.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
it's the needs are tremendous. We're in a point in the life of, I think, the city, the state, and really the country, where we've got to prioritize needs and wants are going to have to go on the back burner.
Okay, so that doesn't happen overnight. But CATS drivers are looking, or the union bus drivers are looking to strike if something doesn't happen soon. So what have you been hearing? What have you been learning along the way about the resolution of this particular grievance?
Well, my understanding is that they're going to have to go to mediation. I think that there's a lot of optimism that mediation will be helpful. That all the numbers will get laid out on the table, and everybody will be able to see. Do I think that we all want? Do I think the board and management and everybody wants for the CATS bus drivers to have a fair wage? Absolutely. But we have budgetary constraints, and so it's going to be a balancing act. But hopefully management and the union can work together to reach a good compromise, and then bring that to the board and earn board approval. So certainly want people to realize they're valued. But the dollars and cents are what they are.
Is there any way to read the tea leaves and see 102 members of this board, or 102 members of this union have already voted to go on strike?
Right.
Is there any way to read the tea leaves to determine how much of that is the strike is going to happen versus the y'all need to get your what together, or else the strike is going to happen? Because there's a difference between those two things. One's
There
a
is.
warning shot,
Right.
and the other is pitching right at your chin.
Absolutely. That depends on who you talk to. I think everybody's looking at different cups and different tea leaves. Certainly, I think the union wants the management and the board to think they're very serious about it. Some of the people I've talked to, think that once they get to the negotiating table with a mediator there, that people will see and understand and come around.
How much of this, and I know the council, Metro Council, has a good bit of separation except for appointing board members. How much of this can the Metro Council step in and talk to the board members about maybe some monumental change within the structure of CATS to where, we
Right.
have CATS,
Absolutely.
we have the routes that are out there. We have Links, which is basically like CATS's version of Uber.
Right.
How much of
Microtransit.
Yes.
Yeah. So we really have no authority to step in, but I can tell you from a conversation with board members, they are well aware, and I've got some data right here in front of me. They are taking a look at the routes, which routes have the highest ridership. Some routes have very little ridership. And so certainly, I believe, my understanding is CATS has already started to remove some bus stops that are not being used and is evaluating routes. And I think it's entirely possible that there are some of the routes that aren't well used that are going to go away. I mean, certainly, right? When your buying power decreases, you have to do less and just do what you can do really, really well, right?
Yeah.
So my understanding is the board understands that, and they're making good progress to tightening up the operations of the system to meet the revenue that they have coming in.
This question isn't for you as a Metro Council person, but you as a Baton Rouge resident, really. Is there any way to change the reputation or the way that CATS is viewed, to change up who the ridership is? Like, it's public transportation. I was just you were in Washington, D.C. last week as well. They've got the Metro.
Absolutely.
And I know we're not going to have a subway in Baton Rouge. I'm not pitching that at all. But those who are on the Metro, it doesn't match those who are on CATS. And are we always just going to be a vehicular society? Are we always just going to use our own cars to get from point A to point B? I don't see that shifting or pivoting in Baton Rouge.
I don't think you're going to see a quick change. I mean, look, just even sidewalks and people riding bikes, and that's taking a while. But I see more and more people walking and more people riding bikes. So, I think we are becoming a multimodal society. It's just going to be slow here. But I think the key to it is figure out what CATS needs to do right now. How do you help the most people and be the most efficient and do it really, really well? That will improve the reputation, and then you can grow from there. But right now, in the way things are in the economy, the way things are with CATS, trying to add some specialty routes or something probably doesn't make sense.
Right.
Let's do our core business the best we can, and then grow from there.
She is Metro Councilwoman Laurie White Adams. That was a quick 12 minutes. Did that really happen?
I felt like it was about 5.
Yeah. That was brief. All right. We got to get out of here, though. We do have Your Money Now coming up in about 30 seconds from right now. Councilwoman Adams, thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you, Brian.
We've got Your Money Now coming your way right now. On the back end, we're diving back into some more news. Don't forget, next hour, we've got, we're going to step away from news at 8:35. Hunt Palmer's going to join us. It is about that time. Baseball season is just around the corner. We're going to get an LSU baseball preview from Hunt Palmer next hour. Also next hour, This Day in History will be coming up. That is, of course, presented by the folks over at 5 Star Printing and Signs. Right now, it's 7:50. Here comes Your Money Now on Talk 107.3 FM. Yeah, that was...
It was... It really was.
Like, normally I have a better grasp of that, but geez.
Yeah, it really was. I feel like we covered a lot of territory.
Hey, kill the mics for a second. Coming up on 756 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Thanks again to Councilwoman Laurie White Adams for stopping by. Talking to little cats there. I know the Metro Council does not have as direct a role as in the operation of cats and the funding and whatnot. But I wanted her perspective because there will be an item on the Metro Council agenda tonight on that front. But there's also I knew she knew a lot about it. I knew she would know where to go. So I appreciate her stopping by and sharing what knowledge she has. Hey, it's carnival time, of course, which means Mathern's is your headquarters. Whether you're talking about king cakes, catering the Mardi Gras ball, or when it comes parade time itself, Mathern's has got you covered. Let's start with the king cake aspect of this, okay? Mathern's has got you covered for king cakes if you go to the Nicholson Drive location, the one that's right there on campus across the street from Tiger Stadium. When you walk in, look to your right, you'll see a giant Mardi Gras tree. Yes, it's like a Christmas tree, just purple, green, and gold. Underneath said tree, which you're going to find, is a ginormous display of all the king cakes. Now, whether you're talking about the traditional, the plain king cake, just the plain old cinnamon, or you want it filled with Bavarian cream, cream cheese, strawberry and cream cheese. They've got all the fillings you can imagine over there with their king cakes. And then if you really want to step it up a notch and go with the premium, the fancy ones, whether you're talking about the wedding cake or the Cookie Monster or any of the great king cakes they've got, Mathern's has got you covered. Now, let's fast forward. This weekend, I believe, is Achilles. Next weekend is Aduna. There's all kinds of Mardi Gras balls going on right now. If you are attending a Mardi Gras ball and you need to bring some food, Mathern's.com. Mathern's.com. Over 50 different catering trays. Yes, anybody can stop off for some chicken fingers somewhere. Anybody can stop off for a tray of sandwiches. Go check out the available catering trays from Mathern's and affordable catering trays from Mathern's as well. Now, fast forward to parade time. When it's time for Artemis, when it's time for Orion, Mathern's is downtown, and they are one block off the route. They're nestled in between 3rd and 4th Street, but they're right by Main Street. So when the parade's making its turn onto 4th, and then before it turns up on North, if you find that you have forgotten something along the way or need to restock because you didn't bring enough cold beer, you didn't bring enough chips for the kids to munch on, whatever the case might be, Mathern's is available during the parade. So king cakes, they've got you covered. Catering trays, they've got you covered. And then they've got you covered on parade time as well. We got about a minute and a half till we got to get out of here. I wanted to touch on the story. I didn't want to really dive into it too much. We touched on it briefly yesterday. Valerie Hodges is leading a group of state legislators that sent a letter to the NFL urging a family-friendly halftime show for the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Super Bowl's coming up, not this coming Sunday, but next Sunday. So we're, 10 days out-ish? Hodges says since Louisiana allocated state funds for the event, its programming should reflect wholesome values.
We have put about between $10 and $15 million towards this event, and it's a family affair that people buy tickets and they go, they take their children, and then if you don't go, then you're watching it on television.
Okay, the watching it on television part, yes, absolutely. I don't know how many people take their children to the Super Bowl. Average ticket price running somewhere around $8,000. I mean, you tell your kid we're going to go to the Super Bowl, or tell your kid I'm going to take you for an entire Disney vacation for that kind of price. Hodges advocated for entertainment free of inappropriate content, ensuring that all Louisianans could watch without concern, noting while many in the state are excited about hosting, taxpayers and parents are worried about past halftime performances.
The halftime shows have become increasingly inappropriate, as we pointed out in the letter, with the groping and the exposing of private parts that should not be exposed.
The last time a private part was exposed was 21 years ago. I mean, that's one thing. I don't think they're ever going to live down the quote-unquote wardrobe malfunction. Hour 3's next. I didn't even get into the part that I really wanted to get into, and that's Super Bowl's in 10 days. You think to just throw a show out there and run with it? Like, if you wanted to do this, you needed to do this 6 months ago.
All right.
806 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane. Rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. Got a news-heavy third hour. Well, I should say a news-heavy first half of the third hour. Our 8:15 segment, we got a lot of ground to cover. We're going to talk Super Bowl, but I also want to revisit a topic from yesterday as President Trump is looking to revamp FEMA. We'll talk about that in our next segment. Also, this hour, Hunt Palmer going to join us as it is time to preview LSU baseball for sure. Right now, though, we start off the third hour with this day in history. All right, John.
All right. Hey, let's start off in 1595, shall we?
Yeah.
Where William Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet is thought to have been first performed. Officially
Really?
published in 1597. So,
Wait, it was first performed in 1595
Yeah,
and
it's
then
thought to have-
published 2 years later?
right, yeah.
Interesting.
Really fascinating.
Okay. I wonder how they would narrow that down. I was like,
Right.
who's out there saying I was there? You know?
Exactly. You know who wasn't there?
Who?
Edgar Allan Poe. Today in 1845, American writer Edgar Allan Poe's poem The Raven was first published in the Evening Mirror newspaper in New York.
Man, I was bumping around social media the other day, and there was a trivia question. What's the only NFL franchise to be named after a poem?
Oh,
And the dude couldn't get it right. I know.
I'm
I
not
know.
even much of a sports guy, and I think I would have gotten it, Brian.
Yeah. Well,
Was that tough to watch? Was
yeah,
it just like
it was.
What are you
just
doing?
when you're shouting at your phone?
Yeah.
you know.
Hey,
Well, for a couple reasons. First and foremost,
Yeah.
it's called The Raven, and there's a poem called The Raven, and it's a pretty popular one by Edgar Allan Poe.
yeah.
But secondly, Poe is from Baltimore. It's the Baltimore Ravens. That's why it makes sense for it to be that one. But third, it wasn't that long ago. They're not that old of a franchise.
Oof, man. Hey, in 1886, Carl Benz patents the Benz patent motor wagon.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The world's first automobile with a burning motor.
Okay.
1892, the Coca-Cola Company is incorporated in Atlanta, Georgia. But didn't it have ties to Louisiana, though?
Monroe, Louisiana.
Yes, it
Friday Ellis, the
Yep.
mayor of Monroe, was on with us
That's where I
last
learned
Friday, appropriately enough. And, while we were in Washington Mardi Gras, one of the great – see, that's a conversation we don't have if not for Washington Mardi Gras. That's a relationship that doesn't get started if not for Washington Mardi Gras. Friday Ellis was telling us about the ties, not just from Monroe to Delta Airlines, but from Monroe to Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Yep.
1920, Walt Disney starts work as an artist with KC Slide Company for $40 a week. This day, 1920.
Well, good for him.
Also this day in 1959, his Sleeping Beauty was released.
Awesome. Hey, this day in 1936, the first ever players were elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner, and Christy Mathewson. Oh, and Walter Johnson as well. Walter
Nice.
Johnson.
Yeah, I was just about to ask who was inducted.
Yep.
Hey, 2002, U.S. President George W. Bush, in his State of the Union address, describes regimes that sponsor terror and axis of evil, which includes
Axis of evil.
Iraq, Iran, and North Korea.
Yep.
Let's see. You know what? You have anything else? I was going to skip to
Yeah, let's skip the birthdays. That's fine.
last year. Oh, well, last year. What about this one? 2024, Elon Musk tweets his company Neuralink has implemented a brain-reading device into a person for the first time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Insane. Hey, moving on to birthdays. How about a president here? William McKinley. President William McKinley.
Yep.
I got Oprah as well.
You got Oprah?
And Tom Selleck.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Frank Reagan right there, a.k.a. Magnum P.I. Also, former politician Paul Ryan was born on this day in 1970. Russian author Anton Chekhov, born on this day in 1860. Thomas Paine, 1737. And, nope, that's died on. Let me go over to the sports world here because I know I've got two. Former LSU Tiger David LaFleur was born on this day in 1974, and former Southern Jaguar Hall of Fame cornerback from the Cardinals and Rams, Aeneas Williams, born on this day in 1968.
All right, yeah. Keeping in turn with Shakespeare and Poe is that Robert Frost died this day, 1963.
Okay.
And let's see. I think that's pretty much it on this side. As far as notable names.
Yeah.
Leif Erikson,
former king of Great Britain, George III, died on this day in 1820. And comedian Jimmy Durante died on this day in 1980.
All right. Hey, national days, Brian. I think you might get.
Oh, wait. Got one more. Got one more.
Go.
Died on this day in 1969. Alan W. Dulles.
Okay.
Yeah. So
National Day here. You might get a kick out of this. Curmudgeon's Day.
Okay.
Wave at the fussed up cashier in your grocery store.
Sure.
Call your grumpy old grandpa because it is Curmudgeon's.
Yep. No. Do we want to go down the hall and wish a happy Curmudgeon's
Hey,
Day?
I didn't.
You didn't say that?
I didn't say that.
All right. Neither did I. Then that's fine. It's 8:13. Coming up on 8:13, it's Talk 107.3 WBRP. Before we take our next break, got to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. Check them out online at vexeuropean.com. That's Vex with a V. V as in Vinny. Vinny and his team have been at it for over 10 years now. They're celebrating their 10th anniversary right now at Vex European. What do they do over there? Well, they specialize in fixing European-made vehicles. If you drive a Mercedes, a BMW, a Jaguar, a Land Rover, they can help you out. If you drive an exotic, oh, by the way, there's a handful of exotic vehicles around Baton Rouge, right? From a Maserati to a Ferrari to a Lamborghini, they've got you covered, and they're the best at it. They're going to pair you with an expert-level technician who knows your make and model of vehicle. Check them out online at vexeuropean.com, V-E-X, vexeuropean.com. They pair the technician with you in order to make sure that you're taken care of. In fact, your tech's going to follow you and your vehicle the same way your chart follows you when you're at the doctor's office. And it starts online at VEX, vexeuropean.com. We're going to start with some LRN cuts, though, and then pivot over to that. Yeah. Hang on. Okay. 13, 14, and 15. And then 7, 8, and 9. And then the Graves cut. I had an interview for the segment that never confirmed. So kind of making it up on the go. (8:17) Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. News heavy in this segment, specifically talking about the Super Bowl and talking about FEMA. We're at 55 degrees and cloudy in downtown Baton Rouge. Not this coming Sunday, but the next is the Super Bowl. But really, when it comes down to it, all the events surrounding the Super Bowl, the countdown is on. I mean, I saw the email yesterday. I got a little excited when I saw the email yesterday. Pickup for media credentials begins on Sunday. So I'm thinking after the show on Monday, I might be scooching down to make the little roadie to go pick up. I have credentials, not for the game itself, but for a number of the events surrounding the game. And I can tell you, one of the biggest ones I want to get at is Louisiana Now, where Economic Development Secretary Susan Bourgeois is going to be showing off the state, what we have to offer. She's going to be on the show tomorrow, by the way. We'll get a sneak preview of that. But details for the preliminary security plan for both the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras are kind of out there now. New Orleans police have placed wedges and barriers on Bourbon Street to keep vehicles out. They're also beefing up security along cross streets and around the perimeter. New Orleans Police Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick says the NFL is also bringing in barriers of their own for the Super Bowl. Cut 13.
But a lot of that is NFL security, and those are their assets that they are bringing in to what we call hardened target.
State police are bringing in additional wedges and barriers as well. The Department of Homeland Security is bringing in SWAT teams and canine patrols. NOPD, New Orleans Police Chief Deputy Superintendent Hans Ganthier says that their presence is going to be felt everywhere, not just in and around the Superdome, but beyond.
They're going to have multiple tactical teams. They're going to have undercover officers. And what we're going to do is spread them out not only in the dome, but also the exterior of the dome, in the French Quarter, and the CBD.
Now, once you get past the Super Bowl, you got Mardi Gras. Kirkpatrick says that there's one thing between the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras, or there's one thing for Mardi Gras, I should say, that's not going to change.
We are going to maintain our traditional parade routes. There will not be a change to those parade routes. We want to keep our culture intact, but to make things safer.
Kirkpatrick is urging people to speak up if they see anything suspicious, which, I mean, you're talking about an area of town where suspicious is going to be like air quoted there, you know? It's one of the great things about having the Super Bowl in New Orleans is the proximity of everything. The walking distance of everything, right? I mean, if you wanted to, you can go from the convention center to the Quarter and back. You know, that's not a hard walk. In fact, it's a pretty easy walk. But if you're within walking distance of everything and you're just a regular tourist who's in town and you're taking in all the sights, like let's say if you got a backpack, all right, you got a backpack to bring a couple waters with you along the way. Well, you set that backpack down somewhere and now all of a sudden you're suspicious. So there's going to be a lot of, if you see something, say something going on, and of course you want to promote that. But man, I do not feel like I feel bad for officials in New Orleans who are going to have to chase down so many false alarms because we're all in a heightened state of alert because of what happened on New Year's morning. That is going to get busy, to say the least. We're going to do a lot more checking in on New Orleans and the Super Bowl. All next week, our team from 104.5 ESPN is going to be down there. So we'll check in with them a ton next week as the events kind of unfold in real time. So we'll close the book on that for right now and pivot over to another topic. But before we do, though, got to remind you, Talk 107.3 and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge YouTube channel. To sign up, visit talk1073.com. Of course, presented by the folks over at Citizens Bank and Trust. Let's go over to the FEMA topic real quick. We talked about it a little yesterday, and our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network had some audio as well as they hopped on Bill Cassidy's media call. President Trump is proposing dismantling FEMA during visits to disaster-stricken areas in North Carolina and California. Now, he's backed off of that and wants to just take a deep dive and audit, if you will, deeper than an audit, just a good scrubbing of FEMA. This is, again, going to be what we need to get used to with President Trump. He's going to ask for more than he really wants. It's a negotiation ploy. That's what he is and who he is. He is a negotiator. We through this in 2016 or through the first term, and we're going through it again. Everything you hear, if you hear the president say we need to just get rid of FEMA altogether, don't take that as in he wants to get rid of FEMA altogether. Take that as in that's where he's starting. Where will he be happy? Senator Bill Cassidy says if you don't have FEMA, you need something like it because sometimes disasters are just too big for states to handle.
We know that firsthand from Hurricane Katrina, and the feeling of some that there was not enough done shows you that you need somebody, and you need somebody to do even more than's currently being done.
Yep. And Senator Cassidy's right there. But what FEMA looks like in its current form versus what FEMA was when we had Hurricane Katrina are two different things for both the good and the bad. I mean, on the good side, they've had this many more, I don't want to say disasters are a good thing, but how many reps has FEMA gotten with handling disasters and the number of different types of disasters they know how to handle? Whether you're talking about a hurricane in the mountains, that's on their resume now, to the wildfires out in California. FEMA's been at it for some time now, and they've what's that insurance commercial with the actor, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Farmers.
J.K. Simmons, right?
J.K. Simmons, that's it. Yeah, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. FEMA has seen a thing or two. But they're also this monolith where they've gone from being the Federal Emergency Management Agency to the Federal Everything Management Agency. So Cassidy says if there's no FEMA, there still needs to be something like FEMA.
Because sometimes natural disasters are just too big. Now, that said, could FEMA get better? Of course FEMA can get better.
We all can get better. For sure. But how do you make it better? Well, looking at the efficiency of FEMA would be a good start. And if you're President Trump, why wouldn't you start the negotiation by saying dismantle it with letting the return be, well, no, we don't dismantle it. Let's just take a deeper dive into it and see how we can streamline it. What really needs to be on FEMA's plate versus something else? And Cassidy says that he suspects that's what Trump is alluding to as well.
Let's just say that I think the president's talking about a review of the processes, and I'm just making the point that we need a federal response.
Now let's rewind the clock by about a month, a little bit over a month ago. Every Wednesday, and it used to be, every Wednesday on Talk 107.3 FM, we would have Congressman Garrett Graves on for D.C. Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Towards the end of Congressman Graves' term, his name was thrown around for every position under the sun. The Secretary of Transportation was a big one he was very interested in. Head of FEMA had his name tagged on it a little bit as well. So during one of those Wednesday D.C. Current presented by Law B segments, I asked the congressman about the FEMA job, and he said on the front end, I think my name's being thrown around because I've dealt with FEMA a lot, and I've got this diversity of my resume because of my role over the last decade here in Congress and who I've worked with, blah, blah, blah. And he was dismissive of the whole idea. So I followed up with the question of, at least when it comes to FEMA, you've got to have like some inkling of a want for this one, right? This is one where, like, if you're named the head of FEMA, you can make some actual change. Here was his answer to that question. It's a little long, but ride with it.
Well, I guess it's fair to say there's an inkling, but I'd also tell you jumping into the weeds a little bit, Brian, that position is not really structured to be functional. And going all the way back to the last Trump administration, we had raised strong concerns about the way that it was structured. The Trump administration actually came in and made some recommendations on that, on the Corps of Engineers, some things that I think really made a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, those changes weren't implemented. So you may remember a few months ago we talked about a bill we have with Congressman Jared Moskowitz that would actually take FEMA out of the Department of Homeland Security and elevate it to a cabinet-level agency. I think that is really where it belongs. I don't think there's appropriate value added with it being in the Department of Homeland Security, and I think it's buried more in a bureaucracy than it needs to. You need an agency that's agile, one that can respond quickly, can be nimble, can respond to the different needs of communities when facing a disaster and in the immediate aftermath of a disaster. So, one of the reasons why I may not sound as excited is that I'm just not a good bureaucrat. And I think if you have an agency that's buried that has a really important mission, I think that I'd probably get pretty frustrated in that position. But look, always interested in talking to the transition team about different things, talking to the new administration about different ideas, and want to be helpful wherever we can in ensuring their success.
Isn't that answer everything we want out of this discussion? How to streamline things, less bureaucracy. How, in the wake of a storm, can we put money in the hands of the state officials quicker so that they can get it to the people that need it quicker? How can we make sure that the head of FEMA actually has a little bit of authority because they're the ones who are managing the emergency? Right there in the name, Federal Emergency Management Agency. Bureaucracy can't manage an emergency. It's just there's a matter of time crunch, there's a matter of need, there's a ticking clock, however you want to say it. It can't run up through 6 bosses checking your TPS reports and then go visit with the Bobs to tell them that Lumberg's on your butt. You can't have that when people are hurting, people are homeless, people are living in tents in the mountains because of a hurricane that rolled through a few months ago. People are looking at potential landslides because of fires that rolled through a few months ago. When it comes to emergency management, you need a point man or woman. You need someone who's at the head of this. I know Congressman Graves was dismissive of the idea from jump. And that's fine because he was answering under its current form. But with President Trump looking to take that deep dive and say, how can we make this more efficient? How can we reduce middlemen to get money to states faster? How can we trust states to take care of their own states a little bit better? If you could streamline the whole dadgum thing, I think it would be worth revisiting Congressman Graves in that. If nothing else, let him head up this task force. If you're putting together a task force that's going to scrub it, everything he said, and that, what was it, a 52-second soundbite? Everything he said in that 52-second soundbite applies today and will continue to apply until they fix it. God, he'd be the perfect choice for that. I hate to get hung up on the idea like this, and I'm not making a joking idea like I did about the seltzer water with the CO2, although that's proven. But this one has teeth, man. It has teeth and legs.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There needs to be more than a chance. So much more than a chance. This needs to be, like, if this were on 104.5, if this were on Live at Lunch, it'd be the lock of the week. This has got to happen. 8:30, here's news. Hunt Palmer talks baseball next. That's all right. If I would have known you were going to do that, I would have gone and found Jimmy saying lock of the week. That would have been good. Yeah. Hey, Hunt! Come on in. No. Wow, he ran that thing up the Mississippi River. Oh. Sorry, that's probably the first time somebody brought up the river pilot debacle in a long time. I see him at random places. Hey, State Rep Valerie Hodges, or State Senator, excuse me, Valerie Hodges, Winston McLean at the Super Bowl halftime show. Yeah, I don't even know, but here's the thing, though: games in 10 days. You think they're starting the choreography right about now? So I get the little preview from you before I get the preview from Coach. He's the Rotary speaker today.
Ah, okay. He'll tell you. He's going to deliver his lines. He'll say they don't recruit pitchers that look like me. Didn't notice the catchers, which is a good thing.
Can we get one catcher this year?
No, you're never going to have one catcher.
You're never going to have like a catcher who can hit and a catcher who can field and
you
catcher
can't
who grows
catch
a hell
every
of a
game.
mustache.
You can't.
No, I understand that, but
yeah.
like you want a go-to guy and then somebody else. Like
they got the next guy. He's just a freshman.
I'm gonna borrow you once or twice next week as well. I mean, you'll be down in New Orleans the whole time, I assume. Are you staying?
I doubt it. I mean, I might stay a night. I got a bunch of places to stay down there, but with a 3-year-old and an 8-month pregnant wife, I probably can't spend a week down there.
Did I not know you were pregnant?
Maybe not. In March.
Well, shit, congratulations.
Well, thanks.
Right in the middle of baseball season.
That is. I'm assuming we'll figure out the logistics today at our meeting at 10, whatever that is.
What kind of price tag was on that sponsorship? Low Bears picked up the whole thing?
I think they struggled to sell it, so I don't know.
I'm wondering if maybe it wasn't a little bit overpriced.
That's not my gig anymore. I don't know what goes gonna do it all.
Time for a forecast that looks a lot more like the first week of April. Today we got cloudy skies with a high of 70, overnight low 61. Tomorrow we're getting up to 80 degrees. Then it's going to rain tomorrow night into Friday morning. Overnight low Thursday 61. Friday we're going to top, after the rain clears out and the sun comes out, we're going to top out at 73 with an overnight low of 46. Your highs Saturday through next week are as follows: 70, 74, 77, 77, 78, and 78. Gross. Right now it's cloudy and 56 in downtown Baton Rouge. .837. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. All right, let's close the book on some of our more newsy items and talk about something that I'm looking forward to a lot, and that's the upcoming baseball season. I'm not done with this basketball team yet. I know they're not really in it, but they're still more fun than last year to watch, and last year was more fun than the year before that. That being said, baseball's just around the corner. Friday, February 14th will be the first game. Sitting in for a quick preview is Hunt Palmer from 104.5 ESPN. How are you, man?
Doing quite well, and I know that you think that weather forecast for the next week is gross. I can promise you one person who doesn't think that is Jay Johnson, who wants his team out there practicing in January and February, and if he can get 75 degrees, he will sure take it.
I'm guessing they didn't get a lot of cuts in last week.
I went out on Sunday to watch them scrimmage, and it was like 65 degrees.
Yeah.
But they had taken all the snow off the field and piled it up in one place, so even though it had been well above freezing for 4 days, there were still 4 feet of piled up snow off to the sides of the field at the box.
Awesome. I bet that would have been a hell of a picture.
I'm sure they got something. They went over to Tiger Stadium and took a bunch of pictures with the helmets and stuff. I'm sure they found something.
I saw the Tiger
box.
Stadium stuff. I would like to see a picture of like an outfielder diving into the 4 feet of snow.
I don't know if they got that.
Okay. All right. This baseball season brings a lot of promise with it. Who are we looking at? Let's break down the roster.
Yeah, I mean, it's a talented team, but in this new era, you're not going to have too many familiar faces. If you're an LSU baseball fan, Jared Jones is certainly somebody that you'll be familiar with. He's 18 home runs away from third all-time at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Stephen Milam and Michael Braswell, who were your second baseman and shortstop last year, who are competing for infield spots right now. Then Josh Pearson was on the national championship team in the outfield. A couple of guys like Jake Brown, who played a little bit last year. But truth be told, if you go out there to the box and all you remember is last year's team, there aren't a lot of guys that are going to contribute on this year's team that were a big part to last year. It's just part of the natural attrition and then restocking of the shelves of college sports and college baseball.
Okay, well then let's start on the mound and what names we know versus names we don't. Do we know who's going to be the Friday night starter yet?
We don't. I don't even think Jay Johnson knows who the Friday night starter is at this point. That's one thing that you would really like to know at this point.
Yeah.
They don't. They've got a lot of options, though, as far as guys that you may know. It wouldn't shock me if Gavin Guidry started the first game. He's exclusively been a bullpen guy for 2 years through the last pitch of the national championship game 2 years ago. But they're going to give him a chance to start. If it works, great. If it doesn't, put him right back in the bullpen where he's been great for 2 years.
Let me re-ask the question, and if you're watching on Facebook Live, you want to see this.
Wow. I know where that's going.
Who do you think is going to be the Friday night starter as they make their way through the season?
As he dons his St. Paul's baseball cap. I think Cade Anderson's got a real chance to be the Friday night starter. The left-hander from
St. Paul's.
St. Paul's was coming off Tommy John surgery his final year of high school, and last year when he was good, he was great. He was awesome against Southeastern. He was awesome against Rice. Even in the regional last year, he was sensational in a couple of relief outings. He's been up to 95, 96 miles an hour from the left side and has a really good breaking ball. So I think there's a real chance he could be the guy. But there are other options as well.
When you could touch 96 and you're left-handed, you bring a lot to the table. Look, my Wolf bias aside, the brotherhood aside, he's a legit talent.
No, there's no question. I think if LSU, I mean, obviously this is a complete hypothetical, but if they had to play a game to win on November the 6th, right after fall baseball ended, and you were taking that sample size into account, I think Anderson would have been the first guy at that point. Now they've got 2 weeks to get ready for the first game that actually counts.
Now, that being said, while we don't know who the Friday night starter is, we got a lot of depth on the bump.
No doubt. Chase Shores is a guy a lot of people are excited about, and for good reason. He was a superstar early in his freshman season in 2023. Big-time bullpen arm. He's 6'8". He throws 98 miles an hour. He tore his UCL, had Tommy John surgery, and hasn't pitched since the middle of 2023. They're excited about what he can do. They brought in 2 accomplished starting pitchers at lower levels in the college game, and Anthony Ianson, who played for Team USA, was at UC San Diego, as well as Zach Cowan, who was on Wofford's team. LSU played Wofford in the regional, but he wasn't able to pitch against LSU because he was overused in the conference tournament a week prior, but he's a really talented guy who throws a lot of different pitches. They like his ability as well. And then a guy that I keep bringing up is Kason Evans, a true freshman from Houston. I know William Schmidt is from here, and a lot of folks know who he is, and he's an uber talent, and he's going to be out on the mound early for LSU. But Kason Evans is a freshman that throws 99 miles an hour, and I think he's got a chance to be a real breakout guy on this team.
Wait, a freshman who throws 99?
It's a new world. There was nobody that threw 99 when I was covering LSU in 2011, 2012. It just wasn't a thing that happened. Kevin Gosman was a flamethrower at 95, 96. Now most guys on LSU staff throw in the lower to mid-90s. It's just a different world.
It says here at LSU Sports.net he's listed as right-handed pitcher and utility. Does he hit as well?
He wants to. When you throw 99 miles an hour, they kind of tether you to the mound.
If you're throwing 99 miles an hour as a freshman and you have the ability to pitch and hit, there's another name from LSU's recent past that's going to come up here. Is he the next Paul Skeens?
No, I'm not going to put that on him at all. There are a lot of guys that throw really hard these days. Paul Skeens is the greatest pitcher that ever performed at LSU. I'm not going to put that on a guy who's never pitched for LSU. But from a velocity standpoint, he throws harder as a freshman than Paul Skeens threw as a freshman. That's fair to say.
Yeah. So let's not make the comparison, but note that the capability could be there in the near future. Stepping away from the mound, I want to make sure we cover everything. You ran through a little bit of the infield. Walk us through each spot in the infield one more time.
Sure. Jared Jones is going to be the first baseman.
That's
for
a given.
sure.
Yeah.
Daniel Dickinson, a transfer from Utah Valley, who was a really big-time talent there. Hit a lot of home runs, stole a lot of bases. We'll see how he adjusts to the SEC, but he's going to be the second baseman. The left side of the infield is going to be Michael Braswell and Stephen Milam. We don't know where. We've been out at practice the last 4 days. They switch in the middle of practice every day. One plays short for 3 innings, then the other plays short for 3 innings, and the other one goes to third. So that's the left side to be determined. The outfield has got a bevy of guys. You've got 7 or 8 guys that can potentially play out there, and I don't think that's going to be settled anytime soon. They're all going to play in the first 3 weeks.
With the switching back and forth at shortstop and third base, that to me, some people get worried because you don't have a set lineup. To me, that lends so much confidence.
It's just Braswell played shortstop the whole year last year.
Right.
He can play shortstop. I think Jay Johnson believes that Stephen Milam is the best defensive infielder they have, so that he wants him to play shortstop, but they're going to make him prove that before they make that decision. So they wanted to do that in the fall. Milam was nursing a foot injury and couldn't play as much as they wanted to. Then he got sick, like mono, I think, sick, so he couldn't practice for 10 days, and they just didn't get enough of a look at it, so they're doing that right now.
What about behind the plate?
Right now, it's a 2-horse race, I believe. You got Cade Arambidi, who is a hotshot freshman, 6'3", hit 360 in the fall against college pitching for the first time, hit the ball on the screws twice on Sunday when I was out there. He's got all the tools you could want, and LSU was fortunate to get him through the Major League Baseball draft, but he's a freshman. You've also got Luis Hernandez, who is a big power bat. He hit 23 home runs from Indiana State last year, who was a regional team. He did not catch, though, and hasn't really caught for 2 years, but he's 22 years old. He caught 30 games 3 years ago at Indiana State, and he did a pretty good job in the fall. Those are probably the two. Those in Baton Rouge will maybe know the name Blaze Priester, who went to Live Oak. He started at LSU, then he went to community college at Meridian and has come back. He actually hit the most home runs of anybody on the roster in the fall, but he's got work to do defensively, and that's very important to Jay Johnson, Josh Jordan, and the staff. So right now, I think Cade Arambidi and Luis Hernandez are the odds-on favorites at catcher.
So you and I were talking during the break before the segment. I just want a catcher. I know you're not going to have somebody who catches every single day, but having a go-to guy instead of what we saw last year was you had one who could hit but couldn't field.
Stravinsky.
Yeah.
And Milazzo, and then Neal.
And yeah, you weren't going to have the whole package. I would like one guy who's, when he's out there, we know he can both catch and hit.
These two guys have the capability of being that. I think the defense may take a second, but they both have very high upside bats. And truthfully told, Kade Arambidi is probably the best high school catcher that got to college this year. So there's a really bright future there with just a matter of when is that future. Is it week 1? Is it year 2? Is it middle of the season? We'll just have to see. Everybody develops at a different speed.
Let's pivot over to the schedule. Have you given the schedule a good look yet?
I have.
Anything that, like, aside from conference play, because you know the Southeastern Conference does it better than anybody else, is there anything out of the conference that kind of catches your eye?
The 3 home non-conference weekends are not a lot to write home about. They're giving Nebraska-Omaha a hat tip because when they go to Omaha to the College World Series, they get to practice on Nebraska-Omaha's field. So they said, hey, appreciate y'all for doing that. You want to come down to the box? That's how that came to be.
Okay.
The week in Northeast Texas is a good one. They'll go to Dallas Baptist, who's a preseason top 25 team, for a Tuesday game in the Ranger Stadium. And then they'll go to Frisco, just north, and they'll play 3 reasonably high-level games in Kansas State, Nebraska, and Sam Houston in a minor league ballpark. And that'll be cool for them to have that experience. But it's not a loaded non-conference. There's not like, I know Texas is in the league now, but years ago LSU played Texas in a series home and away in the non-conference. There's nothing like that before you get into league play.
Yeah, I just want to bring back the Winn-Dixie Showdown. Can we get back to those days?
I know of it well. I'm too young to have gone.
Okay, thanks. I'm old. I know. That's fine. Before we get you out of here, who else in the conference is good? Like, I mean,
everybody?
Are we going to be competing for the top spot?
Yes. I think Texas A&M's got the most talented roster in the nation. Even with the coaching change, they brought back a really good group from the group that was 1 game away from the national championship last year. They're going to be very, very good. And then you kind of look around. Arkansas is going to pitch it like crazy. Florida's got a lot of talent. Tennessee is really restocking the shelves after a national championship win, but you trust Tony Vitello to do that for sure. Kentucky's coming off an Omaha trip as well. Alabama's got maybe the best shortstop in the league. Wes Johnson is over at Georgia and has done a great job there. Paul Maneri is now at South Carolina.
Oh, that's right.
Who's picked toward the bottom of the league. But the SEC has dwarfed the rest of the country in college baseball. It's like 2 different sports now because of the investment that the league has put in and the coaches and the facilities and the NIL possibilities in the SEC. It's just everybody's playing for second. It's the toughest league in the country by a country mile.
Yeah. We got 1 minute until we have to hit our break.
Sure.
Can we take that last minute? By the way, LSU baseball starts February 14th. Can we take this last minute to talk about programming on 104.5 next week? It's Super Bowl week. It is kind of a big deal when it's right down the street.
Yeah, we're excited. We're going to be in New Orleans all week long, all of our shows, and we'll be on Radio Row in the convention center. We'll have a ton of high-profile guests. We were hoping Jaden Daniels' team would be in there, but still a couple of unbelievable organizations and a team in the Chiefs is looking to three-peat for the first time in the history of the league. So it's going to be a lot of exciting stuff down there in New Orleans all week long, and you can listen to us on 104.5.
Yeah, I did notice that I don't think there's an LSU Tiger on either roster. There's 2 on the Eagles practice squad. But
yeah, I'm just going off the top of my head. I can't think of one.
No. Heason Palmer, you'll catch him from 1 to 3 right down the hall on 104.5 ESPN. We always appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's 8:50. Here comes Your Money Now on Talk 107.3 FM. We'll close it out with the Outside In next.
They're going to put somebody in front of me to interview the last second that I don't know anything about. It's just, I feel like it's going to be like so frantic, and like I like to have a little time to prepare for an interview. If they tell me this guy's from whatever, I feel like I'm not going to know who it is.
What, like from within football, or
yeah, potentially, or they're bringing me this guy because he's pitching this Gatorade thing, and I don't know who you are, and like, you're a linebacker for the Colts, like I don't know. I mean, I'm completely making
ought to come with a press release, though, right?
I would hope, but like, Matt's going to tell us. I've never done anything like this before. Like SEC Media Days, I feel like I'm prepared for that. I know what's going on with all the team, like, but this is going to be a whole different animal with so many moving pieces. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people down there,
and you're right in the middle of the day too. Yeah. Everybody's be churning through. So, thank you, Hunt.
Here's your bingo card for Jay Johnson.
All right. He, yeah, he's pretty finely tuned. I've got a 9:30 interview, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the editing on the audio while you were interviewing.
All
So I
good.
could be out of here because I got that producer meeting as well. So try to do all that before I even. If I gotta come back, I'll come back.
Galen says, I agree. We don't need another level of bureaucrats when dealing with emergencies. Things haven't gotten better with FEMA nor the Department of Education. What's crazy is you're right on both points there, but the reaction to those two is going to be completely separate, right? If you tell people things haven't gotten better under FEMA, they're going to say, yeah, I understand that. But if you tell them the same thing about the Department of Education, their buttholes are going to tighten. Isn't Garrett banking on SCOTUS throwing out the current 6th district map so he can jump back into Congress? I don't know what he's banking on. He was very close to the vest the entire time up until his last day. Last time I had him on, he was in kind of decompression mode where he's still exhaling from the job because he had just gotten weapon GPO across the finish line. You are.
All right. Looks like we're gonna be coming up a little early.
Okay.
So I was trying to juggle too much in my ears. Made a rookie mistake.
What'd you do?
After Your Money Now, I hit the local news, and it missed that ad on the back end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we had Your Money Now, just
But not the contractually obligated part of it.
Oh shoot!
Sorry.
I guess when you say it like that. I guess when you say it like that.
Yeah. 8:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Man, been a busy show today. Thanks again to attorney Franz Borghardt for making his first appearance in over a month, and he'll be out the next 2 weeks. Legally Served with Franz Borghardt was in the 6 o'clock hour. We talked about what happens when you just mistakenly drop off a prisoner who's accused of murder and has trial coming up in a month and a half. What happens when you just mistakenly drop him off at the bus station in Baton Rouge? But it leads to so many more conversations about our need for a prison and more. That'll be available on demand at talk1073.com after the show is over with, courtesy of the folks over at Lake Urgent Care. Also, you're going to find Stephen Loy and Mike Mazzo'a talking about future use of energy in Louisiana. They've got a big pitch competition coming up next week that's surrounding the Super Bowl, but it's more about how to make the most out of energy here in the state. Councilwoman Laurie White Adams talked about cats and the problems going on over there. And then we just wrapped up our guest list with Hunt Palmer just a moment ago, talking about the LSU baseball Tigers. Before we get you to the outside in, got to remind you, you can join the voice of LSU women's basketball, Patrick Wright, and Coach Kim Mulkey, Tuesday nights at 7 for the Kim Mulkey Show on your home for LSU women's basketball, Talk 107.3 FM. All right, it is time for the outside in. Let's go. Starting off in Ascension Parish, the school board voted to implement a new policy that says students and teachers cannot be punished if they refuse to use the student's preferred pronouns or name. The school board voted 10-0 at their monthly meeting on Tuesday to implement this policy. That's the second parish this week to do so. Keeping it in Ascension Parish. Vicious Biscuit, who came in for Foodie Friday a couple weeks ago, they're stepping up after the terror attack in New Orleans. In fact, they're supporting families of the victims affected by the New Year's Day terror attack. Now through February 2nd, 10% of every order will be donated to the Greater New Orleans Foundation to help out those who were affected by the attack. One more quick one here in the outside in. We're going to close out in Lafayette. Some of the most famous horses in the world are going to be visiting Lafayette next week. The world-famous Budweiser Clydesdales, a symbol of quality and tradition for Anheuser-Busch since 1933, are scheduled to make several appearances in the area between February 5th and 8th to help celebrate Schilling Distributing's 75th anniversary of doing business in Acadiana. Interestingly enough, the Clydesdales, while they're in Lafayette, or while they're in Louisiana, I should say, are going to take a field trip down to New Orleans as well to be in and around the Big Easy during Super Bowl week. So, going to see a lot of the Clydesdales in Louisiana. I wonder if we get to see, the big trailers that are going to be hauling them. Because obviously if they're going from Lafayette to New Orleans, they'd be cutting right through here, right? See the old Clydesdale motorcade, as it were. That's going to do it for the outside end. That's just about going to do it for us. We're almost out of here. I do want to remind you that, of course, we got Moon Griffon coming up in just a little bit. Brian Kilmeade after that, and then the Ramsey Show after that. Teaser for tomorrow. And that is that on tomorrow's show, we do not have Haggai Davis. We will not have a cup of Ted Gumbo tomorrow morning, so we'll regroup on that front. What we do have tomorrow is Louisiana's Secretary of Economic Development. That would be Susan Bourgeois going to join us on tomorrow's show. Let's get a recap of that economic development luncheon from Washington Mardi Gras. Let's get a preview of what 2025 has to offer. How do we capitalize on all the wins of 2024? We'll cover it all. Susan Bourgeois going to join us tomorrow. We'll also have Crime Stoppers as well and a few more surprises. Right now, we're all done. Moon Griffon is next. We'll see you later. Glad I checked my text before teasing Haggai. All right, Facebook, I got to get out of here. I got an interview coming up in just a little bit that I have to prep for. So we will see y'all tomorrow.